Bonsoir. Good evening, everyone. I will now call the meeting to order. Madame la Greffière.
Your Worship, all public meetings of Moncton City Council are simultaneously translated. Hearing devices are available. You have the right to address City Council in the official language of your choice. Meetings are also simulcast in both languages on the City of Moncton's YouTube channel and can be found on our website at moncton.ca. If you've registered with the City Clerk's office prior to the agenda deadline, 7 days prior to the meeting, you will be given 5 minutes for your presentations. Other public presentations will be given 2 minutes. You will receive a reminder when 1 minute is remaining. Please note, no presenter shall speak disrespectfully of council, staff, or a member of the general public. The use of offensive or profane language will not be tolerated. Any breach of this guideline may result in the presenter being asked to leave council chambers at the discretion of the chair. Un service d'interprétation simultanée est offert pour nos réunions. Vous avez le droit de parler dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Les casques d'écoute servent à la traduction sont disponibles. Ces réunions sont diffusées en français et en anglais sur la plateforme YouTube. Les réunions sont également diffusées sur l'Internet à moncton.ca. Si vous vous êtes inscrit auprès du bureau de la greffière avant la date limite, c'est-à-dire 16 jours avant la séance, vous aurez 5 minutes pour effectuer votre présentation. Toute autre présentation du public aura droit à 2 minutes. S'il vous plaît, notez, aucun présentateur ne devra manquer de respect lorsqu'il parlera du conseil, d'un membre du personnel ou du grand public. Le langage pasmatoire ou les propos offensants ne seront pas tolérés. Le président ou la présidente pourra demander à tout présentateur qui enfreint cette directive de quitter la salle du conseil.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. The agenda, are there changes to the agenda?
Yes, we have a 2-minute presentation from the Moncton Community Residents Affordable Housing and Transition Project, and it will be done by Andrea Best.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. So could I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda modified? Donc, Councillor Steeves, Conseiller Kingston. So any questions? No? Could we have a show of hand, manual vote, please, for the adoption of the agenda? Motion carried. Merci, Madame la Greffière.
Your Worship, we have, next would be adoption of minutes, and we have 3 sets of minutes to be adopted. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Conflict of interest, a conflit d'intérêt.
Are there any conflicts of interest? None.
Now, we're going to adoption of minutes, les adoptions du procès-verbaux. Il y en a 3 aujourd'hui. November 28, 2024, March 17, 2025, and April 7th, 2025.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes, please? Conseiller Léger, Conseiller Butler. Merci. We will do any questions on the minutes? Conseiller Léger.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Maybe just a question regarding the length of time it takes for the minutes to reach us. Is there a way that we could adopt a policy or that minutes within the month come back to council for adoption as opposed to several months that go by?
That is the goal. Currently, we have new staff, and they're just in transition of training and learning how to do all of the roles. So that's my goal is to have them done at the next meeting, as they were in the past.
Okay, and hopefully that can continue regardless of staff turnover. I think it's important that we respect the order in which, we have meetings on a regular basis, and I think these have to be top priority as well, to be adopted in a timely fashion. So, thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Léger. Any other question? None. So could we have a show of hands for adoption? Motion carried. Merci.
Next is consent agenda, and les questions soumises à l'approbation du Conseil. Ce soir, il y a une demande d'exception à l'arrêté concernant la prévention des bruits excessifs. C'est un spectacle de la rentrée 2025 à l'Université de Moncton.
Donc, with these changes, Non, il n'y avait pas de changement, là.
Non, on a juste besoin d'un vote.
OK, c'est beau. Donc, could I have a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda? Conseiller Léger, conseiller Richard. Any questions? None, so we will go to electronic vote.
We can close the vote. I note that Susan Edgett is not present. We have one nay vote, Councillor Steves.
So the motion passes with one nay vote. Merci. Madame la greffière.
Oui. Next is, Councillor Edgett. Next is public and administration presentations, and this evening we have two, one 5-minute, one 2-minute. The first is a presentation of Community Peace Garden. Sherry Trenham, Moncton West Riverview Rotary Club is here to give that presentation.
Bonsoir, Sherry. Just for council, we will hear both presentation and then we will ask the questions following the presentations. Merci.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, Council, the City Manager, staff, and the members of the public. I'm here on behalf of the Community Peace Garden Development Committee. This is not a Rotary project, although I do hold the title as President of the Moncton West and Riverview Rotary. And so it's the park is actually an initiative based on back in 2020. Greater Moncton, including Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview, actually received the International City of Peace designation, and we were the 6th city in the country to receive that, and the very first in Atlantic Canada. At the time in 2020, there was 309 cities around the world with the designation. Today, there's 430 in 6 continents and 70 countries. So here's a picture of the Peace Garden. So my presentation is to make the public aware as well as council on this important project. And City of Moncton has been an absolute treat to work with and a delightful partner on this project. We had approached them to see if there was a property within the City of Moncton, within our 4 regional parks, that a peace community garden could be constructed. And the spot that we all agreed on was by Mapleton Rotary Pavilion, or Mapleton Rotary Lodge, as a lot of people know it, in Mapleton Park. We don't count the statistics of the number of people that visit the park each year, but the Rotary Lodge, actually, we do manage the statistics, and we have about 4,800 people visit the lodge and have functions in it, everything from activities of conventions as well as weddings, Boys and Girls Scout, and a lot of community events are held in the lodge. So the park is 82 feet in length. It's 35 feet in width. And the design was done by Vidiris Design, and they, in fact, did this as an in-kind contribution to the project. So as you can see from your picture at the entrance, so it goes right across from where we have park at the Mapleton Park. So accessibility, it's all flat ground, easy access for anyone that has accessibility requirements or mobility challenges, as well as anyone in the general public walking on the trails. The garden actually will be equipped with signage. There will be a peace pole, and there also will be turtle public art to represent the Indigenous at the entrance. The park will include a picnic table that will be donated. It will be relocated from a current position in Mapleton Park close by, and a pergola with 2 benches that are going to be donated by the City of Moncton. So just to show some of the features of it, and peace poles are unique. There's 250,000 peace poles worldwide. They're all on a registry, and the latest one that was installed was down on the Halifax Harbor front 2 weeks ago by the Rotary Club in that area called Halifax Harbor. So the turtle you see in the picture is only an example. It's not the finished product, but it represents the public art. We will have also community peace garden, a signage, and the goal is to use that as an educational component as well, so that you can swipe the code and find out about peace poles, Rotary Gardens, and any of the sponsors that actually have donated to this project. And we have a seat wall as well as included in this. So why do we need a peace garden? So it promotes peace and unity. It enhances mental and physical well-being, promotes and provides educational opportunity. It improves the environment, so certainly will enhance Mapleton Park, and encourages community engagement and volunteerism. How many plant species in this park? We have 213 plants. And of those plants, the ones highlighted in yellow represent indigenous plants. Sweetgrass, we have 40. We have a mountain ash, which represents the tree that the indigenous use for making baskets, and paper birch, which is the tree that they use for doing canoes and constructing them. So how much is the cost of this project? It's around $100,000. We're working with now a number nursery as well as a landscape contractor finalizing the pricing as well as the signage. We have private donors for the public art and also the Peace Pole right now. So those are looked after. In addition to this, Green Cities Foundation. So the T-shirt that I have on, actually, we have 7 members in our committee. All of us have been complimentary provided with a T-shirt. Green Cities Foundation, this actual application for this project was the first in Atlantic Canada. However, St. John has since made application, and they've started on the first phase of their projects that we're hoping to get caught up. And they have actually donated up to $20,000 on this project, and it's for soft landscaping only. So with the funding, we are working on that. We have a sponsorship package, and Noel's working with the community. And I'm going to mention the New Brunswick Community College Moncton because they are actually providing the labor to construct the pergola. We are doing a partnership with them. So that's just one I'm going to highlight. So our committee, we have 7. My co-chair is Daryl Namath. I have 3 of my committee members with me, which I'd like to introduce. I've got Nigel Bayless. I also have Tilio Guerrero, and I have Maria Much with me today. So I'm delighted they could join us. So finally, my last slide is I just wanted to give you an update. We have actually raised $45,000 for this project to date. So we're quite excited with that. We have a bit more to go, but we really thank all council for listening. And if you have any questions, I'd be delighted to respond to them.
Thank you, Sherry. We will
Sherry, we're going to go to the next, if you can stay until the next presentation, then council will ask questions.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Andrea Best. She's the Executive Director of Moncton Community Residents, Inc., and she's here to speak on affordable housing and transition, and the transition project.
Bonsoir, Andrea.
Hello, am I going to have my presentation up?
I think he's working on it.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. Okay.
It's okay, it happens.
There doesn't seem to, oh, he's giving me the sign of just a moment. May, Maybe you can start the presentation, and if
Okay.
we can get it up, we will.
Okay, well, I'm Andrea Best, the Executive Director of Moncton Community Residences, and I'm here to talk to you guys, the Moncton City Council, about our affordable housing and inclusion project. Moncton Community Residences have been serving the greater Moncton area and the most vulnerable population since 1974. We provide inclusive, person-centered housing and support to individuals with complex needs and developmental challenges. Currently, we provide support to over 130 individuals, ranging from staffed homes to independent living arrangements, ranging from 5 years to 78 years of age. We also provide space to Club Shades, which is a community hub for inclusion and life skills development. We are actively seeking currently a land and evaluating sites with support from our partners at Pivot Housing, and we need your help to help us identify suitable land and whether it be municipal, listed, or off-market opportunities. And we also are looking for your support for pre-construction funding and to be collaborative partners in building housing for Moncton's most vulnerable. The project, it has been deemed feasible from Pivot Housing. It is a 15-unit affordable housing development that is going to allow us to house 21 more of the people that we serve with the expanded Club Shades on the ground floor. And why it matters, people with developmental disabilities are facing rising rent, limited housing options, risk of isolation and homelessness, and regression to more costly special care homes. It is also going to help build community for this population and allow them to feel a sense of belonging and dignity. And it's also going to help us create housing options for the youth who are aging out of our care. So the project is viable, the need is urgent, and we are ready to move forward, and we would love to have your help in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for members of council? Oh, Councillor Bourgeois.
No, Councillor Butler. Should be Butler.
Merci, Madame la Maire. Merci, Andrea. I have no questions for the other presentation, but maybe some of the councillors might have. Could you go into a little bit more detail of what services you provide to your clients? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, so we provide a wide range of services, as I said, children, youth, adults, and seniors, in a varying levels of supported housing depending on the person's needs. We are focused on trauma-informed care and person-centered planning, so we really focus on maximizing people's abilities and for them to reach their human potential. And we have really powerful outcomes, not just on affordable housing solutions, but also on employment and community participation and lifelong relationships.
Okay. And how are you funded? Is it mostly Government of New Brunswick per client?
It is mostly government funding through social development, correct?
And they don't fund capital investments?
No, they do not.
Okay. So you are primarily a service provider. Can you explain exactly why you provide or want to provide more housing? I know you already have some units in the city somewhere, but...
That's a fair question. We've been in existence for 50 years, as I said, since 1974. And over the years, we've really developed from just a service provider to also a housing provider. Because of the complexity of the individuals that we support, it just makes sense for us also to be the landlord of those individuals. And we currently have 9 buildings right now that we oversee and operate. So it's not new to us to property manage units. We also have 2 affordable apartment units already that we own and operate. And so because of that, we have people on our staff who are property management. So we have that side covered, and also the clinical services are also covered as well. And we're not acting alone. We have Pivot Housing Solutions, consultants that we're working with to make sure that the project design is feasible and meets operational standards. And we have lived experience doing it because we've been doing supportive housing and delivering sustainable outcomes for many years. And we also already have contracts with social development, and we work closely with Housing NB already.
Okay. You said you didn't use the term shovel-ready, but you were ready to build, but you are missing land. Is
Correct.
that the missing? Okay.
Right, correct.
Have you explored a collaboration with Rising Tide, which is sort of our equivalent of a housing authority that would be doing something like that?
Absolutely. Those collaborations are still on the table, and we believe that they can complement the project like this that we want to own and operate ourselves. We and myself have had conversations with Dale many times, and I'm still hoping to acquire some units in his buildings outside of this project.
Okay, so why come to us? You're just not confident?
No, it's going to take a long time, from what I understand, for those units to be available. And right now, the need is great. Individuals, as I said in my presentation, are being placed in special care homes, which is really limiting their progression and their lifelong outcomes and really costing taxpayers more money over the long term.
Okay, thanks. And have you contacted city staff to see if we did have in the city land bank a lot that would fit your need?
Yeah, we have spoken to Josh Davis, and it seems that there's going to be opportunities for one particular lot that he brought to our attention later on down the line, but there's no timing for that. And there's also a lot of other nonprofits that are really looking to get that land. So it would be, we are looking at collaborating with other partners, but at the same time, the urgent need is now for us and for our people. And so that's why I'm coming to you guys today to at least make sure that you understand that there's a developmental disability population out there that are really the most vulnerable people in Moncton who really are needing housing. They can't afford to live in this market on their disability income.
All right, I can't make a motion during presentations like this, but just wondering if the city manager and his senior management team could explore ways to find a solution for Moncton Residences, Inc. Don't know exactly what, but.
Yes, we'll continue to work with the organization to provide opportunities, for sure.
Including private? You said even private land that would be available or
Correct.
misused or anything on the horizon? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Merci.
Yeah.
Merci, Conseiller Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your presentation. Yes, it's something that's really needed for sure. You know, we can never have enough housing. So I guess the questions that I had in mind were the same ones that Councillor Bourgeois had stated. So the city manager is going to be reaching out, have staff to reach out to you. And I would really like that, I apologize for not being able to get your presentation up, but hopefully that it can be sent to us so we can have a look at it, just to see what.
I sent it to Diane on last Wednesday, so hopefully she can forward it off to you guys.
I'm sure it's at our end, for sure. But if you could send it to us, that'd be
Okay,
great.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we could have a look at it, and I thank you very
Okay.
much for your presentation. Also, I just wanted to mention, have a question for Sherry, if I could.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
appreciate it. Sherry, thanks for the presentation. It's not so much a question, it's just a statement. From looking at your committee, I think that, you're on the right path. He's got some really community-minded people there, which is really great. And, that area out there is starting to develop more and more. And we have the university out there that's close to Mapleton Park, that, the people, the students could use this also. With this Peace Garden, and it's a really, it looks really awesome with the pictures. Do we have any idea, like, when the opening would be?
So if the funding's in place, we hope to start mid-August with construction, and the goal would be open it on September 21st, which is International Peace Day. So partnerships, the University of Moncton, actually, engineering department has approached me to see if there's an opportunity for their students to be able to participate. Rotary, with our exchange program for international students, I've been asked, is there an opportunity there as well? So there's a number of groups that are interested since we put on our Facebook, which is Community Peace Garden in Mapleton Park. It's certainly some eyes of the general public and are quite interested in the project.
Well, that's awesome. I look forward to getting an invite when it opens up. So thank you very much, and also to your committee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? No? Thank you, Sherry and Andrea, both good news projects. Thank you. And we really need more peace parks everywhere. So thank you for this. Merci.
Next is administration presentations, les exposés de l'administration, and there's an update from the RCMP. Superintendent Benoit Jolet, officer in charge of Kodiak Regional RCMP, is here to give his quarterly update.
Bonsoir, Surintendant.
Bonsoir, Madame la Maire Adjointe, members of council, staff, and residents that are still here. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the fathers in the room for your love, dedication, and strength on a belated Father's Day. I hope everybody had a great weekend, and for all their partners for putting up with Dad the rest of the year. I'll just dive right into it. Speak about community policing first. From May 26th to the 30th, we held another mountain bike operators course and trained various of our members. And if you were in the downtown yesterday and today, you may have seen members on the mountain bikes. We're going to strive to do this every chance that we get in our downtown and in the expansive trail system. On June 7th, 2 of our members attended EnviroFest at the Centennial Park. Our members attended with a kiosk including promotional items as well as crime prevention information. The next day on June 8th, myself and Inspector White attended the D-Day ceremony at Veterans Health Center. It was great to see the veterans, current serving members of the armed forces, cadets, and residents alike. Thanks to Councillor Crossman for being there, representing the City of Moncton. It's always an honor for the RCMP to attend these events to pay homage to the men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice. On June 11th, we held our second proactive community consultation. If you remember, we had one back in April at Legends at the Coliseum. So this one last week was held in Riverview, and it's open to all residents. And there was roughly 50 to 60 people that attended from all 3 communities. These sessions are aimed to have residents share ideas and to connect with us and brainstorm on how we can make policing and public safety better. It was a really good meeting, and a lot of good conversation was had. Next, I'll speak about the Crime Reduction Unit. So since we last reported to council, the team has been extremely busy on various drug enforcement activities. There's 5 in question that I'll speak to. The first was back in April, our team was alerted about a specific target that was allegedly selling drugs at the local shelters and at the Safe Injection Clinic, taking advantage of our most vulnerable. On May 1st, the team set up to track the suspect, and that afternoon, the primary suspect, a 39-year-old female, and her 29-year-old male accomplice, both from Moncton, were taken into custody. And during that arrest, a good quantity of fentanyl, crystal methamphetamine, illicit prescription medication, contraband cigarettes, as well as cash was seized. And both suspects are facing various charges. On May 6th, while our members were conducting downtown patrols, our members located a vehicle at the Georges Dumont Hospital. And the vehicle had fictitious plates. Our team intercepted the vehicle. 29-year-old male was taken into custody. And during the search, a large quantity of cocaine, fentanyl, psilocybin, that's mushrooms. We don't seize that a lot, but it's still out there. Ammunition and cash. And that male was released before a judge, bound by several conditions, and is facing a slew of drug charges. Again, this is really impressive work that was done, coordinated effort. I've spoken in past to council about the federal serious and organized crime section of the RCMP that's housed on Macbeth. Back in April, they came to us and we formed a joint investigation into fentanyl trafficking, where the suspect was in the Moncton area, but he was originally from the Scarborough, Ontario area. Through the investigation, we observed the target had been traveling back and forth between the Greater Toronto Area and Moncton. And on May 26, a search warrant was obtained at a residence on Garfield Street here in Moncton, and the primary suspect, a 28-year-old male, was arrested. During the search, loaded handgun, armor-piercing ammunition, nearly 2 kilograms of fentanyl, 2 kilograms of methamphetamine, a large amount of cocaine, and a large amount of cash were seized. That individual faces various charges. Back in the fall of 2024, the Provincial Crime Reduction Unit, this is the unit that's paid 100% by the province and has offices in Moncton and in Woodstock. They partnered up with us regarding individuals in the area that were into the illicit drug business. This all led to a several-month project that came to culmination on May 27th, where a massive coordinated search warrant execution operation was undertaken between the Provincial Crime Reduction Unit, Kodiak Crime Reduction Unit, and various other partners, including Police Dog Services, Southeast District, and again, the Federal Serious Organized Crime Section. On that evening, 6 locations were searched, 3 in Riverview, 2 in Moncton, and 1 in Hopewell Cape, all related to the same network. 7 people were taken into custody. And following the arrest, we seized a very large quantity of drugs, including multi-kilo levels of cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, hashish, fentanyl, and 31 firearms, including several assault-style rifles. And I'm sure some of you may have seen the photograph. There's firearms in there that are military-grade assault rifles that were seized during the search. So thanks to the coordinated effort in this file, we believe that we've disrupted a large-scale drug trafficking operation in our area. The final one is April of this year. Our team began an investigation in the trafficking of fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine regarding an individual in Moncton. And on May 29th, our team with our various partners executed a search warrant on March Street. And during that search, a 38-year-old male and a 35-year-old female, both from Moncton, were arrested. And again, a large quantity of cocaine, fentanyl, crack cocaine, and hundreds of both prescription and non-prescription pills, contraband cigarettes, cash, and various weapons and ammunition. And both those individuals are facing several charges. It's these are really good results, but we are far from over in dealing with these types of investigations, and our teams are constantly out there, not only looking for the day-to-day things that we see that's very visible, and we've spoken about open-air drug enforcement, our members are doing this on a regular basis, but getting to the dealers and also the suppliers, but also what's concerning is that individual who was bringing drugs from Toronto. So really impressive work by our teams. Next, our general investigation section. On April 24th, our patrol members responded to a report of a robbery located at a financial institution on Main Street. All of our members immediately deployed on scene, and we were there within less than a minute, actually, our first member. And the individual was still inside. He had barricaded himself in a back room, and we took him into custody. And no one was injured. And again, thanks to the quick thinking of the staff there, we were able to arrest him, and he's facing various charges. On April 30th, our members responded to a shooting incident on Vale Street. All available units attended, and upon arriving, we discovered a male who had suffered non-life-threatening gunshot injury to his body. Our general investigation section has taken carriage of the file, and the investigation is progressing well, and we determined that it was not a random attack. Next, for our patrol team, on May 1st, our members responded in the early hours, I believe it was at 2:30 in the morning, of a vehicle that had crashed into the Via Rail building on Canada Street. Several members attended, and thanks to the quick patrol, but also to the amazing description from a witness on scene, we were able to track and locate a youth who was well known to us and taken into custody, and that file is ongoing, and no one was hurt during the incident. On May 7th, one of our patrol members, while they were doing proactive traffic enforcement, responded to a call regarding a vehicle which was driving erratically. In one stop, the driver displayed signs of impairment. The member took the individual into custody and was processed for impaired driving, but also during the subsequent search of the vehicle, again, a large quantity of cocaine, prescription medication, and a large amount of cash was seized. The 38-year-old male from Oromocto was charged and is facing various court dates later this year. On June 6th, the New Brunswick Tactical Traffic Enforcement Unit was here for a one-day blitz. As always, we partnered with them for the one-day blitz. The results: 1 impaired driver, 4 suspended drivers, 1 warrant of arrest executed, 12 vehicles towed, and 131 traffic tickets in the one-day operation. Finally, there's an event that occurred yesterday at 12:30 in the afternoon. We received a call regarding a missing female in her 70s from a care home. The individual had suffered from a mental illness and had strolled away from her residence. Unfortunately, she wasn't found yesterday. However, ground search and rescue and police deployed in an attempt to locate her, but the search was called off last night at dark. This morning, again, ground search and rescue and Kodiak RCMP deployed, and luckily we located the female around 10 a.m. this morning alive, and she was treated by paramedics. I'd like to point out how important ground search and rescue is. We tend to forget, being in an urban setting, that we don't need these services. We think it's somebody lost in the woods. We have tremendous amount of green space here and our waterways, so we couldn't do it, these types of things, without the ground search and rescue teams. They're a volunteer, and they're people from our community that come out, and it was really amazing work this morning. And finally, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate all the grads who are moving on to new adventures and challenges. Congrats for your hard work and accomplishments, and have a great time at grad. But like I say every year, please be safe. Make sure you have a plan. Have fun, but get home at the end of the night. Merci, madame.
Are there any questions from council? I don't see any. Merci beaucoup, Surintendant.
Merci, and I'll see those that are going to be there on Wednesday night. Thank you.
Je m'excuse, je pense que je vois une lumière, là. Le conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Mme le maire. Merci, M. Jolette.
Merci.
Juste une petite question. On est en train de considérer la possibilité de réglementer les scooters électriques, là. Qu'est-ce que la responsabilité de la GRC par rapport à ces véhicules à moteur, là?
Donc, c'est une bonne question. On a parlé de ça cette semaine. Il y a des règlements, évidemment. Il faut avoir un casque. Donc, c'est des billets qu'on peut donner sous la loi sur les véhicules à moteur. Et aussi, il y a une vitesse spécifique qu'on doit respecter. Donc, ça aussi, c'est quelque chose qu'on peut utiliser envers la loi sur les véhicules à moteur.
Et est-ce que, moi, j'en ai vu, et depuis qu'on en a parlé la semaine dernière, j'en ai compté 20.
Oui.
2 qui portaient des casques et roulaient sur la rue. Les 18 autres, la plupart ne portaient pas de casque. Ils conduisaient tous sur le trottoir. Et j'ai eu des plaintes de personnes, surtout des personnes à mobilité réduite, en fauteuil roulant, etc., qui aimeraient se promener sur les trottoirs. d'une part, il y en a qui abandonnent leurs scooters sur les trottoirs. Ça, c'est plus la responsabilité de la municipalité de s'en débarrasser ou de les enlever de là. Mais l'autre, c'est le danger que ça pose d'avoir des véhicules à moteur, comme les scooters, comme ça, rouler sur les trottoirs. Est-ce que vous avez l'intention de les appréhender si jamais vous en voyez, ou est-ce que c'est pas vraiment...
Oui, je pense qu'on a parlé la semaine passée parce que, pour être honnête, je l'ai remarqué moi-même dans les dernières semaines. Je suis comme, OK, la ville de Moncton, ou je ne sais même pas si c'est la ville qui s'en occupe ou si c'est un individu privé, mais je les ai remarqués un peu partout, puis dans des drôles d'endroits aussi. Mais on a parlé la semaine passée exactement pour ça, pour savoir qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec ça. Est-ce qu'on va faire l'enforcement? Est-ce qu'il y a une communication qui va être faite? Je ne sais pas si la ville va faire, mais nous, d'une manière ou d'une autre, on va faire une communication aussi pour rappeler aux gens qu'est-ce qui sont leurs responsabilités quand on utilise ça, surtout en ville.
OK. Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame le maire.
C'est
Conseiller Léger.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la mairesse, et merci pour le compte rendu. On est ici l'été, puis à chaque été, on parle du bruit.
Oui.
En particulier, maintenant que vous avez les officiers sur les bicyclettes, ces choses-là ici au centre-ville, y a-t-il l'espoir que on va pouvoir peut-être donner des tickets, par exemple, pour les véhicules qui font beaucoup de bruit? C'est clair que normalement, il ne devrait pas avoir autant de bruit de ces véhicules. Donc, probablement qu'il y a eu quelque sorte de manipulation. Donc, avez-vous des commentaires du tout? Je l'entends à chaque... Et puis même, disons, le soir, on s'aperçoit maintenant que si vous êtes près de la rue Wheeler, par exemple, ils partent de la rue Main comme si c'est à vitesse extrême, puis avec le bruit qui va avec. Et puis les gens sont très frustrés, donc je ne sais pas à quoi leur dire. Moi, je suis frustré. Avez-vous peut-être des suggestions à ce qui peut se passer?
Oui, donc c'est pas juste une préoccupation, pas une frustration pour les résidents de Moncton. C'est l'entière des 3 municipalités dans notre coin, puis probablement à la grandeur de la province. Comme j'ai déjà mentionné au conseil, l'article sur la loi sur les véhicules à moteur du Nouveau-Brunswick qu'on a pour ça, c'est extrêmement subjectif parce qu'on n'a pas d'instrument pour mesurer le bruit. Il y a des articles qu'on peut utiliser pour la vitesse, des dépassements dangereux, quoi que ce soit. Mais je sais que la province du Nouveau-Brunswick est intéressée à ce dossier-là, puis est en train de travailler sur quelque chose. J'ai pas eu de date, j'ai pas eu rien de spécifique, mais j'ai eu des conversations avec le département de la sécurité publique à ce point-là. Puis il y a des conversations qui commencent. Ça semble comme un sujet qui a été oublié dans les dernières années, mais en ce moment, on va voir qu'est-ce qui arrive. Mais comme j'ai mentionné avant, il y a presque 400 articles de la loi sur les véhicules à moteur qu'on peut utiliser, autre qu'un article pour le bruit spécifiquement.
OK. Est-ce qu'au centre-ville, vous aurez peut-être la possibilité de donner des tickets?
On en donne des centaines par mois, mais absolument. Qu'est-ce qui est bon aussi avec les policiers? Qu'est-ce qu'on a commencé aussi dans les 2 dernières semaines? C'est avoir 2 membres juste pour la rue Main, parce qu'on a vu l'achalandage, évidemment, avec les gens qui sont sur les terrasses, dans les boîtes de nuit, puis tout ça. Puis ça a vraiment eu un bon résultat aussi. C'est juste la présence visible, mais aussi les policiers qui sont là à pied peuvent signaler, disons, s'ils voient, comme vous dites, un véhicule qui cause des problèmes pour dire, gars, véhicule bleu, telle couleur, telle plaque, whatever, qu'on va essayer de les arrêter dans le prochain coin. Donc, absolument.
Puis une deuxième question. Je remarque de plus en plus maintenant qu'il y a beaucoup de plaques immatricules qui ne sont pas lisables. Soit qu'ils n'existent pas, ou bien on a aussi les bicyclettes qui prennent leur plaque, puis ils la tournent en haut pour pas...
Oui.
Donc, y a-t-il quelque chose de proactif que vous faites ou peut-être en communication qui pourrait être envoyé? Il me semble que si on ne peut pas identifier, si on ne peut pas lire la plaque immatricule d'une voiture, peu importe ce qui est en train de se passer, on n'est pas capable de vous donner l'information. Et je ne comprends pas pourquoi que que ça existe encore. Et y a-t-il quelque chose au niveau de communication, au niveau de... je ne sais pas, mais peut-être vos commentaires là-dessus.
Ouais, les gens qui plient leur plaque, c'est parce qu'ils ne veulent pas être identifiés.
Oui, mais ceux que la peinture est tout simplement disparue, c'était illégal d'avoir une plaque que l'on ne peut pas lire. Et si oui, pourquoi que ces gens-là, je suis certain que vos officiers doivent les voir aussi.
Oui, c'est à ma connaissance, avoir une plaque avec le genre de peinture qui est enlevé n'est pas illégal parce que la plaque est quand même visible. C'est un mauvais produit qu'il y a eu pendant une couple d'années. Selon moi, c'est pas illégal d'avoir une plaque que les lettres ont tombé parce qu'on voit encore les chiffres quand on est proche. Ouais.
Merci.
Mais c'est le genre d'affaires qu'on recherche tout le temps quand on est sur la route pour éduquer les gens.
OK, merci. Merci, Madame.
conseiller Léger. Conseiller Crossman.
Thank you, Madam Terrio. Superintendent, good to see you again, and it was nice to see you and Mr. White as well, shall I call him, I guess, at the event. It was well attended. I've got one question for you and maybe some sort of comment or direction to the CAO that you may be able to help me out on as well. One, I'm looking for a staff update on the 17 members that council approved, I do believe it was, in our last budget of close to $9 million. So I'd like to know where we stand on that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in January, when we, I guess when the funds were approved for 2025 for those positions, there's various steps that we have to go through. A letter had to be sent to the minister, the federal minister of public safety, to have approval to get those going. Next, like I mentioned before, we had to decide where we're going to put these people. That was done in the fall, but then in January there was a whole reorganization of specific teams or whatever. That was another exercise. There's official languages, and also the approval process of all those positions because it's still like we had to change our structure and how things are done. Long story, everything is done.
Okay.
And we're currently in the staffing process. So the first, I guess, half of those, the closing dates for those positions, because there's a competition, it's actually this Wednesday. So the community policing, that's been completed. So we had people from our patrol teams that had been seconded to community policing for at least since 2020, so the last 5 years. Those new positions, excuse me, 4 new constable positions in community policing, a new staff sergeant who's going to be in charge of the entire community policing team, and a new corporal team leader. It's all completed except for the team leader. So now we're into the first part of the investigative teams. So if I get a ballpark for you, Councillor Crossman, I'd say that more than half of those positions are going to be in place by the end of the summer, and then the rest of them, everything's going to be started. And I'm going to think big here because we had said initially in the fall that we were guessing that approximately 7 or 8 would be done within that calendar year. We're going to be in pretty good shape.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. And my only other comment, and again, this may be a direction to the CAO as well, but since 2017, I used to work with Stefan Thibodeau here on traffic red light cameras. And it's becoming more and more of a concern across the city as we grow. You can't expect a population growth of 8,000 people within a year. You know, it's going to add more than 1 car on the roadways. And obviously, driving conditions aren't favorable on everybody. So there's a lot of red lights that are ran. There's a lot of intersections that are blocked, things along this line. Is there any movement within the RCMP at this point? Because I know that we had to lobby the province to change the Motor Vehicle Act, to take that away from ticketing the actual person that was driving to ticketing the actual plate. So have you done any more homework, shall I say, on this? Have the RCMP done any more homework with the City of Moncton to see if there's a partnership where we can look at doing some sort of, I don't know, let's say test pilot, test program within Moncton? And this is all based on community safety, right? I mean, this is strictly, this is a user pay system. If you go through a red light, you're ticketed. If you're blocking an intersection, so on and so forth. So I'm wondering, has there been any more communication on this?
No, no one's reached out to me.
Okay.
But like I said before, we're ready to work with the city and anything that we have to do. Obviously, we're not going to be installing any of these items, but if there are some, then it's an education piece, both in the city and also for us, and it's also an enforcement opportunity for us to supplement that. And if I could use just a sideline, I was in Ottawa for 2 weeks at the end of May, and I'm from Ottawa. I've never seen so many red light cameras and also speeding radars, and it does have a visual effect. It has a deterrent effect, and also I observed a driving habit effect. So if the city wants to pursue this, I encourage it like I always have, and it's a great enforcement tool, not only for the city, public safety, but also for us.
And it's also, you know, if there's an Amber Alert or anything, I mean, you had just mentioned at the start, you know, the senior that had wandered away. You know, if they're traveling through an intersection on foot or in a vehicle, it's a great way to track this as well as youth as well, right?
Absolutely, and that elderly female, we actually tracked her on various cameras, including a local business, so.
Good.
The more cameras, the better.
Great. So, Mr. CAO, can I ask for some sort of follow-up? Because I know that I have mentioned this numerous times in the past with regards to the way forward for the City of Moncton.
Thank you for the question. I know that we're working with the Department of Public Safety at the province on a pilot project for red light cameras, so we'll provide an update to the council.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent.
Merci beaucoup, Surintendant. Merci. Bonne soirée.
Thank you, merci.
The next
Madame
item.
Grelier.
No? Okay. Next is planning matters at Question d'Urbanisme, and the first up today is a public hearing for rezoning application of 480-528 Ryan Street.
Merci. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Sarah, and we move into, we have two public hearings this evening, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So, and the first one is 450 and 528 Ryan Road.
480 and 528 Ryan.
C'est beau.
Yes.
Merci beaucoup. Allez-y.
Merci. All right, so this is an application to rezone 480 Ryan Street from R2 or two-unit dwelling to R3 multiple unit dwelling. The abutting property, which is 528 Ryan Street, is currently already zoned R3, but it is subject to a conditional zoning agreement from 2005. So this application proposes to repeal that 2005 rezoning agreement at 528 Ryan Street and replace it with a new conditional zoning agreement that would be subject to both subject properties. So the proposed development is intended to accommodate 3 4-story apartment buildings. Each building will provide 63 units for a total of 189 units between all 3 buildings. So the subject development is located in the north end of the city, and that is in Ward 3. So in terms of context, the land is located on the south side of Ryan Street, and that's east of the roundabout at Horseman. This part of the city is primarily residential. It's got an amenity node close by to the west, including school, a YMCA, daycares. There's a future commercial service node, as well as the Northwest Trail that runs along the side of the property. The surrounding area has many apartment buildings that are zoned R3 with with the lower density housing around them, which is the R2, and in the image, that's the yellow in the image on the left. So this is the site plan. The proposed development is intended to occupy both 528 Ryan as well as 480 Ryan Street. Those 2 properties would be consolidated into one new property. As noted, the plan is to construct 3 4-story apartment buildings. Each building will have 63 units for a total of 189 units. The buildings will consist of 1 and 2 bedroom units, and a pathway connecting from the site to the Northwest Trail is also included, which does provide pedestrian and cycling connections from the development to the greater community. So this is a rendering of the site. Each building provides a main entrance that faces Ryan Street, and there are internal walkways connecting all of the buildings. So in terms of objectives, the site is designated neighborhood in the municipal plan. The application satisfies the neighborhood policies by being located on a collector street, being serviced by public transit. It is in proximity to neighborhood services and amenities, and the development contributes to an attractive and pedestrian-oriented development. So in terms of the recommendation is that Moncton City Council approve zoning bylaw amendment, being bylaw Z 222.48, subject to a new conditional zoning agreement with a number of conditions that are included in your package. So in terms of objections, one letter was submitted prior to the deadline. In it, the resident noted that they were neutral, but they did have questions mainly about traffic. Administration did send a response with answers to their questions. There was a bit of back and forth with that resident with follow-up questions after that, but after that, no further comments were made from that resident. So after that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. Is the applicant here this evening? Or
Yes.
Does he or she wish to speak?
I think they just are here to answer questions if needed.
Okay. And the objections, everything is fine? So,
No further comments were received from the applicant, or from the resident, I guess.
okay. So I will now allow council to ask questions. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des questions, conseiller Butler?
That's objecting.
Just
Is there anybody in the room that wants to object?
Okay. Sorry, I'm still learning.
All good.
Is there anyone in the room that wishes to object to this development? No? So then we will move on to council. So conseiller Butler.
All righty, I'll try her again.
Just making sure.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Sarah, for the presentation. So we had talked about this before, and this is the area where we were looking for the 4 doors, the townhouses originally, correct?
No, it's a different property from that.
Oh, okay. So when we go back there and I was walking along there the other day just to have a look and see the layout of it. You know, number one, the schools in that area are totally filled now. They're busting at the seams. So, you know, I think that we have to be realistic when people move in there regards to their students even thinking about getting to the school. The second thing is that, you know, we still have, and I know that one of the answers that went back was we talked about the Mountain Road corridor, and we were talking about maybe the ideas down the road about how we're going to fix it for traffic. But, you know, I'm not, whenever we do one of these projects, especially on the Ryan and Mountain Road area, that area, we never ever get something back that we have to do something different, you know, for traffic. It's always, yes, the traffic flow is all right. Well, but, you know, before we build in 3 buildings, the traffic flow is not all right up there. I try to get that across every time a project comes here. I'm not going to try to stop the project, but we have to be realistic to the neighbors when they talk, you know, about what's going on up there. Like, I mean, you take that Horseman, you know, instead of building, you know, I don't want to get into it, but the multi-use path that we built there, very seldom I've ever seen anybody on it, where we couldn't have 2 lanes the other way coming in. It's, you know, it's between 4 and 6, the objector was right, all the way back, all the way up to Barry's Mills and up onto Barry's Mills. You know, that's how bad the traffic is. The other night I was coming there and there was a somebody ran into someone else and they wouldn't move till the police got there, and it was just way back, almost to the Coliseum. So, you know, when we talk about these projects, I think that we have to be realistic when we think about the amount. It's nice to say, well, it's close to the pass, they can use their bicycles and things like that, but, you know, there's not 100 people going to come out in the morning, jump on bicycles and head her downtown. You know, they're going to get in their vehicles and they're going to head to work. And also, even with the buses, when the buses stop, you know, the buses take up in a whole lane, and sometimes the traffic gets backed up because of cars coming the other way. One person doesn't want to cross or pass the bus. So I think that you know, the realistic part of this, when we build these 3 apartments, there's going to be more traffic, which is going to cause more issues. There's going to be more objections because our kids can't go to the school that's in that area. The French school is filled, La Sommet. The other schools, north of Fry, we had to change that. A lot of the kids from the north end are going down to the new one by BMHS. So, I mean, we have to think this. I mean, I realize the north end, where Councillor Steves and I are the councillors, that is growing very, very fast. We understand that. And you know, we continue to see the growth, and we like to see growth, but at the same time, there's realistic views and markers that we have to get to. And I just think that, you know, we had a meeting here not too long ago, Councillor Steves and I, with the province regards to, you know, the issues up there with the smell and with the traffic, and, you know, there's so many things going on. So I just, you know, when we talk about going forward with this and other projects in the north end, because there's a few more in the basket. So I would just like to say that we should be realistic and talk about the schools being filled, that the traffic is bad. You know, when you go up there, you'll know in the morning and the evening. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out for the people that are objecting. And some, you know, they don't, they see every project going through anyway, so they always say, well, you know, what's the sense? I get calls all the time. Well, you know, what's the sense of objecting or send a letter? There's going in. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that attention, but I do appreciate all you do. I do. Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, conseiller Butler, conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Merci, Sarah. J'ai juste une question. On page 2, it says, and I quote, "The site does have existing tree and vegetation coverage, which will largely be removed for the development. The applicant is proposing tree plantings along the property boundaries, kudos, with additional tree plantings within landscape parking islands. It is not one of the conditions, but it is mentioned, it is visible on the Schedule B. It's referred to on Schedule B, which is one condition. I and Councillor Edgett and Mayor Thériault sit on the Planning Review Committee, and we were told 2 meetings ago, I think, by one of your employees, urban planning, that trees on parking islands really don't work or eventually die off because snow removal activities or other things. So are we sharing that kind of information? If I'm wrong, correct me. But if I'm right and that was what your internal staff believe, should we not tell the developers that it may just not work well, or am I wrong?
Typically, so when you've got bigger parking lots like this, the islands are bigger. They're required to be bigger to accommodate. It may not be a big tree. It may be a short-statured tree. It may be shrubbery, tall grasses, that sort of thing. It is a requirement of the bylaw at this time, so technically they are required to do it. I do think that as we move forward through the municipal plan review, potentially more sort of investigation as to exactly what kinds of trees would work in this type of situation, what kind of trees can withstand salt and that sort of thing. So, but at this time, the parking lot islands are big enough to accommodate more of a small stature tree.
Okay, thank you very much. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois, conseiller Steves.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Sarah, I just want to pick up on what Councillor Butler was speaking on regarding traffic. Traffic, we get so many complaints about that. Now, somebody from Ontario comes here and kind of laughs at us when we talk about traffic. But for Moncton, every 5 o'clock traffic there on Horseman, it's backed up all the way down Barry Mills. It goes past the Coliseum and sometimes gets as far as Killam, as far as people trying to get into Ward 3. And it is a big concern. And so this objector, though there was only one, there are other silent objectors to continued big projects. I just want to read into the record, and for those that may be watching on TV or whatnot, your response, which is a complete response, to the objector in regards to the traffic mitigation plans. I'm just going to read that. The objector said, "Are there any traffic mitigation plans or infrastructure improvements being proposed as part of this development?" The response was, "The development by itself does not justify any transportation improvements." However, the city has completed a draft North End transportation plan which recommends improvements at Ryan Street, Horseman Road, Twin Oaks Drive roundabout, and Barry Mills Road, Horseman Road intersection. Please note that at this time, the plan is currently confidential due to land matters and ongoing discussions with New Brunswick Department of Transportation Infrastructure. I would just like administration to send council a reminder on what date that was presented to us. That would be good for us to refresh ourselves on that. And ultimately, it takes so much time, we know, when we're working with the New Brunswick Department of Transportation Infrastructure. It's going to be years, perhaps, before improvements are made. And I'm just wondering, is there any updates other than what I read, Sarah, that you would have for the people in Ward 3?
I might ask Radia Rafat,
Sure.
transportation engineer, to maybe respond to that.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor Terrio, Councillor Steves. Unfortunately, there isn't an update at this time. We're still in the process of discussing different improvements with the province and trying to settle some of the land matters. So there's not really an update at this time, unfortunately.
All right. Well, at this time, I'm going to vote against the project just because at some point we've got to say enough is enough before the transportation and the traffic catches up to the incredible development. So thank you very much.
Merci, Conseiller Steves. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken? Oh, is there anyone? Conseiller Léger, c'est beau.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Thanks. I'm just curious, because we have this conversation all the time related to traffic and how it is growing, there's no question. So are there best practices within other municipalities in terms of what we should be doing? Because we can't expect that, you know, on one hand, we want growth of housing, but on the other hand, you know, you can't continue to simply, you know, do what we do, which is ignore it. So are there best practices? Are there things we should be doing that, you know, I see, anyway, go ahead, I guess.
I'll get Radia.
Hi, Councillor Léger. We are following best practices in terms of the way the traffic impact study was prepared is very similar to the way it's prepared in other jurisdictions in terms of the approach to, in terms of looking at, you can't just single out one development. You have to kind of look at all the background development that's been approved, which the study did. It did look at the 2030 forecast traffic, including all the approved developments already in the North End. So it already did look at, in terms of what is going to be generated, what's there, what could be generated, and adding. So it is following the same sort of methodology as other cities would. Other cities are moving more towards looking at different modes of traffic, looking at beyond the peak hour type traffic analysis, which I mean, sadly, as congestion continues, we may have to do. So I think we are following best practices from across Canada in how we in the scope that we request for the traffic impact studies and how we assess them.
But why are we so slow, though, in I guess, modifying and creating a better flow of traffic? Because what we seem to be doing is we're very good at creating housing, but we're very poor at those changes. Is there something different in New Brunswick that we as a municipality can't move forward on creating larger infrastructure to accommodate the housing needs that we need in term, because those traffic delays and backups are getting, and what we'll do tonight, we'll add another probably 100 vehicles to that long line that's already at sometimes back to kill them.
I guess in terms of why it's taking us so long is that it's not, as council has seen the draft study. The improvements that are left are major improvements that require significant funding. Some of them for the land acquisition needs would require several years of construction. So it's not that there's not the simple solutions are left. So that probably the simplest solution that's left is the one that's in the traffic impact study about the right turn lanes at the roundabout. But again, that's kind of going to be bringing traffic to Ferry Mills and Horseman, where again, there's a bit of a bottleneck. There's a bottleneck, right? So it's the easy solutions are not there. So that's why we're into the difficult solutions. And that's why it's taking us longer to negotiate, to discuss with the province and negotiate. So, yeah.
I think I find it frustrating, though, because at one point we're going to have to make a decision that maybe we pause on some development in terms of focusing on the things that we need to do to improve the infrastructure. I mean, you just seem to be pushing it down the road all the time, and I don't think that's fair to residents, to citizens, and so I don't know. Anyway, perhaps the new municipal plan can deal with some of those things, and maybe we don't give the go-ahead to certain developments in certain areas until the infrastructure's there. And then it pushes everyone to have to do that. Just my comment. Thank you. Merci.
Merci, Conseiller Léger. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
The
Sarah,
applicant did offer to maybe say a few words about their development.
yes.
Yes, my name is Robert LeBlanc. I'm the developer, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. One of the reasons we want to do this project like now is because, as you know, like the federal and the province removed the HST on multi-unit building. And my goal is to we've been building this building, I think I built 10, 5 in the north end, 2 in Riverview, the third one's going up, and the third one in Dieppe also going up with different partners. And if we push back this development, because we're saving on one building probably 1.5 million minimum, just in HST. And the goal is, like, this building is a bit different from the other 10 that we built, or 11. We normally was a 55 unit for the same amount of square footage. So we changed the plan, keeping the same amount of square footage, and we added a lot more one bedroom. And the goal is to make it affordable. Like, my goal is to be 1,500 or less, and the one bedroom will be like 1,300. And we're planning to, everything would be included, electricity, cable, internet. That would be the package. Like, the fourth unit and that could reach 16, maybe 50, but if all that's gonna be given, like the power and all that, I think it'd be like under 1,500. And also my property managers saying, like, people can reach, the local people from Moncton or Greater Moncton can reach that, like everything that's being built all around Greater Moncton, the concrete building, the cheapest rent might be 1,800, then it goes up to 2,500, and it's not affordable. But keep in mind, if we push this back, the province said it, they got a date. In 2027, at the end of the year, they just coming back on. And I know you're concerned about the traffic, which I don't blame you guys, but like from Ryan Road, you don't have to go to Horseman. There's multi-place you can go. You can just keep on driving Ryan Road north, and you can get out on the other end. I drive there every day. Like, we don't have any problem. And you can get out a lot more places there. So I don't think it's going to make a big change on the traffic. I know 5 o'clock traffic is 5 o'clock traffic, but I'm just asking you, like, please approve it. If not, like, after the date, like, I won't be building it after the HSC come back on, because to me, they won't be affordable and they should not be built because, anyway, I want to thank you for your time.
Merci, Monsieur Leblanc. Merci beaucoup. Are there any other questions? If there are no questions, then I will declare the public hearing closed. I need a mover and a seconder for the motion, Conseiller Léger and Conseiller Kingston. So on the question, we will go to an electronic vote.
Could we close the vote? Could we see the vote results? Yes. 1 nay vote. Councillor Steves.
Thank you. Motion passed. Madame la greffière.
Yes. Next is a public hearing on rezoning application 145 East Street, and there have been objections received, and I see Sarah is here once again to give the report.
Bonsoir, Sarah.
Bonsoir again. So this is an application to rezone 145 East Street from R2, 2-unit dwelling, to RM, residential mix. So the purpose of the rezoning application is to accommodate 2 row house dwellings for a total of 12 residential units. The subject property is located on the east side of the city, north of Shediac Road and east of Harrisville Boulevard, and that is in Ward 1. So the area is predominantly residential, mainly with single and 2-unit dwellings. In terms of the surrounding zones, it is mainly R2, 2-unit dwelling. There is a large wetland to the north, which is zoned P2, which is open space and conservation zone. The existing zoning on the subject property is R2, which is a residential dwelling zone, and it is proposed to be rezoned to RM, residential mix. So here's the site plan of the proposed development. As noted, it is proposed to be 2 row houses with 6 units in each for a total of 12 units. Vehicular access is planned via a 2-way driveway onto East Street. The parking lot has 23 parking stalls, as well as 2 accessible parking spaces and 2 bicycle racks. The side yards and the rear yard exceed minimum setback requirements, and given that those larger setbacks, the applicants have worked with the engineering department to create a drainage plan with the goal of retaining as many of the existing trees as possible along those property lines. That landscape buffer will include a combination of trees and shrubs, and new trees will be planted where there are gaps in the tree line. So these are the elevation drawings. Each row house will have a maximum height of 2 stories. The proposed height aligns with the built form of the surrounding area, which is mainly 1- and 2-story homes. The applicant has selected to use varying shades and tones of stone masonry and vinyl, which complies with the building design standards, and it also blends with the character of the existing adjacent neighboring properties. So here's a rendering of the proposed development. There are provisions for pedestrian walkway on the north and west side, making it a pedestrian-friendly site. Trees and shrubs, as I mentioned, are proposed around the site, including street trees along East Street. Additional amenities have been incorporated, such as an outdoor space between buildings A and B, landscaping, and bike racks. So here is another view of the proposed project. The proposed application addresses several objectives of council, one of which is to provide for a variety and affordable range of housing choices in the community for people of all ages, incomes, and lifestyles. It also addresses policy N8, that during the review of rezoning proposals in neighborhoods, new developments are to be designed to make more efficient use of land, infrastructure, and services. They are to provide landscape buffers, and the proposed height and massing is to work well for the surrounding area. So the row houses that are being proposed are 1.5 stories from the front and 2 stories at the back, which is, again, a similar height to the surrounding homes in the neighborhood. The site is designed to have larger setbacks than what would be required for as-of-right development, so single, semi-detached, or 3 or 4 unit building. As the site will be surrounded by that treed buffer is also not a requirement for as-of-right development, so that is also something additional. This application was presented to the Planning Advisory Committee on May 28th, and they voted unanimously to recommend to Council that the application be approved. So in terms of the recommendation, it is recommended that Moncton City Council approve zoning bylaw amendment Z222.46 and Schedule A46, subject to a resolution with a number of conditions that are included in the package. As was mentioned, a number of objections were received, so I will go through them, but I wanted to bring up one of the pictures just so you can see something while I talk. So since the application was introduced, a number of objections were submitted. So 15 letters of objection were received, 2 petitions were received. All of the letters and petitions that were received by the deadline were circulated to all members of council prior to this meeting. In terms of the petitions, one of the petition had over 230 signatures with addresses from various parts of Moncton, as well as residents living in other communities, Dieppe, Riverview, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and BC. And the second one has 100 signatures, and that has addresses within the local neighborhood. So I will go over the objections one by one that have been received and the responses to them. But first, I'll just list the main objectives include traffic and safety concerns, a strain on infrastructure, a change to the neighborhood character, the environmental impact, a negative impact on property values, precedent setting for future development, and a negative impact on the livelihood of residents. So for the first one, concern about traffic and safety. So the concern was about the significant increase in traffic in the neighborhood, pedestrian safety, and the single entrance and exit for the neighborhood. So a trip generation statement was provided for the proposed development. That statement indicated that the proposed development will generate 8 morning or rush hour trips and 9 afternoon or rush hour trips. That would be less than 1 car for every 6 minutes during rush hour, and it's not expected to be a noticeable impact on the surrounding community streets. While there is only 1 exit out of the community with the existing residences and the proposed 12 units, it is expected that daily traffic volume on East Street will still be within an acceptable range for a local public city street. The second item, the second concern was a strain on infrastructure. So that one, the concern is that the proposed development could lead to an increased strain on existing infrastructure like water and sewer and roads. So in terms of a response, during the review of the application, the proposed development did have to go through a detailed servicing plan. They submitted a detailed servicing plan. It was reviewed by the city's engineering department to understand the servicing requirements for the development, and it was determined that there is sufficient capacity to support the development's water, sanitary, and stormwater needs. The third concern or objection was neighborhood character. The comments were that the current residential makeup of the area consists of single-family homes with spacious lots and green buffers. A dense townhouse complex would alter the peaceful and open character of the neighborhood, reducing green space and potentially increasing noise and congestion. So in response to that, the proposed development is designed with a height consistent with the surrounding neighborhood of 1- and 2-story homes. The setbacks of the buildings in some areas are double what they would be if they were to develop as a single semi-3 or 4 unit lot, leaving more open space than a typical residential lot would provide. The site is surrounded by a treed buffer, which is a requirement of the development that would again not be required if the lot were to develop as of right. And the development was designed to be compatible with the surrounding properties and integrate into the neighborhood. So the fourth issue concern was environmental impact. So the comments received were that the proposed development would remove mature trees and green space and replace it with concrete. This would lead to increased stormwater runoff, reduced air quality, and loss of biodiversity. The neighborhood supports a thriving population of deer, birds, and small wildlife, and losing this natural habitat would not only endanger the local ecosystem, but also diminish the peaceful semi-rural quality that residents deeply value. So in response, it is important to note that the subject land is zoned for residential use. It is not zoned for conservation. It's not public land, and it's not zoned for conservation or park. The landowners have indicated that the existing large trees will be retained as much as possible along the property lines, and they've created a drainage plan specifically that aims to retain as many of those trees as possible. The landscape buffer will include a combination of trees and shrubs. New trees will be planted, as I mentioned, if there are gaps. And additionally, the developer will be required to meet zero net for stormwater. In terms of wildlife habitat, it should be noted that there is a large area of land just to the northwest side of East Street that is zoned P2, or open space and conservation. It is a protected green space for wildlife and vegetation. The fifth objection was about property values. So introducing high-density housing can have a negative effect on surrounding property values, particularly if it brings architectural inconsistency, inadequate parking, or increased congestion without sufficient planning for visual and functional integration. So as a response, the proposed rezoning to RM, or residential mix, will not permit multiple unit dwellings or high-density development. The RM zone limits density to no more than row houses or townhouses. Again, as noted, the proposed development is designed with a height that is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Again, with the larger setbacks, in some areas are double what they would be if the lots were to develop as of right. The tree buffer would be included here. In terms of parking, the development accommodates 25 parking stalls, which is a ratio of 2.08 vehicles per unit, which is similar to a standard residential lot driveway that typically fits two vehicles. As this is a local street, similar to what is used by other residents of the neighborhood, on-street parking would be permitted on the public streets. The sixth objection is that it would create a precedent for future development. So rezoning this parcel may set a precedent for further high-density development. This could gradually erode the quality of life and stability that current residents have invested in and care deeply about. So in terms of a response, each rezoning application is reviewed individually on a site-specific basis. An approval of one application does not grant entitlement or establish an open path for future densification in the neighborhood. The proposed RM zone permits forms of development that are intentionally limited in scale and remains compatible with low-density neighborhoods. In this case, the proposed project is considered low to moderate density. And the last objection was the negative impact on the livelihood of residents. So some residents do work from home in the area. Others do shift work hours, and so they do need to sleep during the day. And they noted that they were concerned that the proposed development will significantly impact their livelihood. Months of loud disruptive noise, ongoing disruption to water, electricity, and internet while the project is being built, and the increased noise and traffic associated with construction and the long-term impact of denser living conditions will directly affect their ability to get adequate rest, which is unhealthy and has a negative impact on the services they provide. Another resident, or several residents, noted their concerns regarding light pollution from the proposed development. So in terms of a response, in terms of the construction of these buildings, the construction is considered to be very simple. They are built with the same methods as a single-family home or a duplex. So the disruption to neighbors during the construction would essentially be the same as building a house on that lot. As for the anticipated timeline, if approved, the landowners would plan to start late this fall and finish by the spring of 2026. In terms of lighting, there are light standards in the zoning bylaw that regulates this kind of lights for these kind of single or two-unit dwelling homes. So, for example, light fixtures are required to be full cutoff, so that means the shade has to come down over the light bulb. Light can't shine out, it can only shine down. So those are the types of rules that are in place to manage lighting concerns. So that does cover the main objections that were submitted. As noted, all the letters and the petitions that were received by the deadline were circulated to all members of council prior to this meeting, as well as the responses that were sent out from administration. So at that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Is the applicant or developer present?
Yes.
And would they wish to speak at this
I
time?
think at this time, they're just willing to answer questions.
Okay. Bon, merci. Are there proponents who wish to speak in favor of this project? There are none. So, Madame la Greffière, we have some objectors who wish to speak. Is that correct?
Yes. The first would be Jenna Mills.
So,
Can you press the button there?
Good. Okay. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. My name is Jenna Mills. I've lived in this community my entire life. I was raised here, I moved away for university, and then I chose to come back to build my forever home. I'm a part of multiple generations who've lived in this neighborhood, so my grandmother, my parents, and now my family. I'm raising my 3 children here, and it's because of the small, safe, and full of single-family homes that has brought me back to this area. It's not just my story, so my neighborhood is many multi-generational families who've lived here for decades. We're a close-knit community that values peaceful character on our streets. That's why I'm here tonight, to strongly urge you to reject this rezoning of 145 East Street. A 12-unit development does not belong in a neighborhood like ours. It would fundamentally change the character and the feel to the community. And this is not just my personal opinion. As you've heard, there's 2 petitions have already been submitted by pretty much all of the residents, clearly showing that the neighborhood does not want this. I've also submitted a zoning map that shows that there are areas nearby with vacant land that are zoned for this type of development. If the plan is for the city and the developer to build this kind of housing, it should be done in areas that are already zoned for it, not forced into a quiet, family-based neighborhood. So we are not opposed to growth, but we're just asking for thoughtful growth, for our voices to be heard, for the people who live here, that raise our families here and plan to stay here, that you hear us. Please respect the voices of this community and vote no to the rezoning of 145 East Street. Thank you for your time and your service.
thank you. Merci.
Next would be Yvonne Leblanc. Yvonne Leblanc? No? Next would be Cassandra Elmore Sweet.
Red is on, okay. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. My name is Cassandra Sweet, and I've lived on East Street for the past 8 years. Over the past few weeks, I've gone door to door throughout our neighborhood to speak with residents about the rezoning of 145 East Street. The original hard copy of this petition was formally submitted to the city clerk's office last week, but I want to take a moment to walk you through what this petition actually represents, because the numbers tell a very different story. There are 79 households in our neighborhood, and I personally visit every one of them. I received signatures from 68 homes, which is 86% of the entire neighborhood. But I want to break that down a little further. Out of those 79 households, 6 homes had no one available despite repeated visits, and only 5 declined to sign. 3 of which had personal or professional conflicts of interest, though they voiced their support. One even shared that their daughter cried at the thought of losing the woods behind their home, though he didn't feel comfortable putting his name on paper. 2 others were newer to the neighborhood and admitted they noticed the big sign outside of the property, but hadn't looked too much into it. So if we look at only 73 households where someone was home, 68 of them signed the petition, which means 93% of the reachable residents are opposed to this rezoning. In total, as we've heard, we collected over 100 individual signatures. Many households had more than one adult sign, showing not just breadth, but depth of our concern. This is not a few people speaking for the neighborhood. This is the neighborhood speaking for itself. I know that many of my neighbors have submitted written concerns about traffic, strain on infrastructure, safety, especially with a number of vehicles this development would introduce. The city has acknowledged that there will be an impact, but for whatever reason has concluded it's not significant enough to warrant concern. But I can tell you, as a mother of 2 small children who walks this neighborhood every single day, I do not need a top-down explanation of how I won't be impacted, because I know I will be. Every day, I watch vehicles drive way too fast in our neighborhood, and nearly every day, without fail, I wave down at least one car to slow down because my children and their friends are outside on the road that has no sidewalks and is home to a park and has one entrance and an out that protrudes onto a blind hill on Shediac Road. So when it comes to traffic, any additional vehicles are a direct impact on my family's safety. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about safety, because my focus tonight is on the numbers and the clear opposition that we've documented, but I do hope that my comments are noted. Many of the residents I spoke to felt discouraged and disheartened, and quite honestly feel like this hearing is just a formality, that the decision has already been made and their voices don't matter. But I believe they should, and I believe that you council members want to do what's right. You're being asked to make a very difficult decision to weigh the voices of the people who elected you against the interests of a private developer in the city's long-term growth plans. To us, approving this rezoning sends a clear message that when residents speak up, even in large numbers, they can still be ignored. And if that's the case, respectfully, what is the role of public consultation? We're not asking you to oppose all development. We're asking for responsible, contextual development, the kind that fits the zoning that already exists and respects the character of this neighborhood. If this project doesn't meet the current zoning, then it should be redesigned or placed somewhere that it does. That is the developer's responsibility, not the burden of the community to absorb. Just because you can approve this rezoning does not mean you should. We've learned time and time again throughout history that communities grow best when change is done with them, not to them. This should be a hard decision because, again, you are being asked to draw the line between growth that works with people and decisions that ignore them. We've done our part. We are speaking clearly and respectfully. I truly do hope I am. Now we're asking you to show us that our voices still matter. On behalf of myself, my family, and my neighbors, many of whom are here tonight, please reject this rezoning application. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, who opposes this project? No. So does the applicant wish to address some of the concerns expressed by those who oppose? No? No? So I will open it to council members for questions. Any questions from colleagues? No questions? Councilor Butler.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Sarah, in the neighborhood, so these are going to be rentals, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. So in the neighborhood, is there any rentals as of now in that neighborhood?
There would be no way for us to know. No, I shouldn't say that. There are some, yes. How many? I'm not sure. Yeah.
But it's mostly,
It's primarily owner-occupied. When we sent out public notice, there were some that the address was sent to a different location, but not a lot.
okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Butler. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la Maire. Merci, Sarah. My question is about that lot. If it stayed with the present zoning, I'm rough guessing, but I don't think we could fit more than 2 houses. If the way it's shaped, you can't put like a U-turn, it's not big enough for a street or even a cul-de-sac. So I can't imagine 3 slivers being able to fit in that, so we'd have 2 units instead of,
There's actually, it's a big lot. There's 50 meters of frontage, so it actually could technically be subdivided into 3 lots.
Oh, you think?
Each lot could, yep, and they do meet the frontage requirements for 4 units, actually, on each lot.
okay, because I'm looking southwest of that square, there's only 2 lots, and the houses seem to, you know, I don't know how you could fit 3, but okay. If you say so.
Parallel, they would be essentially long, deep, quite deep lots.
Yes.
But they would fit, they would meet to 15-meter frontage requirement. So within 50 meters, there'd be, in fact, some left over. But there would fit essentially 3 4-unit dwellings, so you could fit 12 units as of right. The design would be different. The parking would have to be in the back for all of them, but
Okay, so we could fit 12, 3 times 4,
yes.
which would probably have the same impact as this proposal.
The same impact with in terms of the density, yes, but not,
Density,
the setbacks would be
traffic,
different. The parking would be at the back, so you'd have parking lots as opposed to parking lots in the backyard kind of thing.
Okay, merci. Merci, Sarah. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Conseiller Bourgeois, Conseiller Léger.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Thanks, Sarah. So if it's 4 units as a right, and you had for each of those lots, what would the height of the buildings, if they were 4 units, be? Would it be higher than the 2 stories that are proposed this evening for the row house?
Typically, in the R2 zone, the height limit is 9 meters, so technically, that typically would be 3 stories. You don't often see that. That would be more sort of if you've got 2 stories and then a peaked roof with an attic space. Sometimes you'll see that with a townhouse, for example, if they have the garage on the main floor, but we don't see that height that high very often. But it does permit it.
So even for a 4 unit, like if you built a 4 unit, you wouldn't expect it to be at 9 meters?
That would be 3 stories. That's a pretty steep, I guess.
Okay. I think, I understand what the citizens' concerns are. I think, I think the most important piece on this is how it changes the neighborhood. When everyone speaks about people might be renting and what will that look like in terms of the neighborhood and so on. And that's an emotional piece that I think is, it's very relevant. For us, I think it's sort of taking a look at what would be allowed there normally and what is being proposed and how can it be looked at in terms of appealing to the standards of the current neighborhood. And I think that's what you tried to do, even in the explanation that you read to us, some of the things that were in the council report form. So it almost seems to me that at this point, we either can approve what we have in front of us, which is the townhouse units that people are not going to like, but on the other hand, if that project doesn't move forward, it could be divided into 3 lots, and you could end up with 12 units, 4 on each lot, with absolutely no, with very little input in terms of the aesthetics. So it's, I think that's sort of that's the difficulty. I understand it, and I think that's it's difficult because it's change, and it's change for the neighborhood, and no one has any guarantees on that. So anyway, I was curious as to what the right was on the property, and you answered that, and the height. And so I think it is a difficult decision, but I think I understand sort of what you're presenting as a possibility of the best fit for the neighborhood, perhaps. So thank you. Merci.
Merci, Conseiller Légère. No more questions from council. So is there anyone else who hasn't spoken, who wishes to speak? And it has to be new information. If not, I will declare the public hearing closed. And I need a mover and a seconder for the motion. There's no mover or seconder, je sais pas là. Il y a un monsieur qui veut parler là. Le monsieur, did you wish to speak on its new information? Is that correct? Yes, please do so.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and councilors. I'm a resident on East Street all my life, and it seems that every time that since the city become on board in the community.
Could we have your name, please?
John Carter. Okay?
Thank you.
And I don't know when the city amalgamated and took our area into the city, but we seem to have different things as things expand and develop. And we've come on several occasions and have, give our pros and cons to what's going to be developed, but the city always seems to leave a deaf ear towards us, eh? We objected to the Harris Boulevard and different things that has come our way. And when they put in the Harrisville Boulevard, they closed Workman Street. So now our subdivision only has one exit out. We're on a blind hill, and it's on a turn and a hill. So it's a hard exit looking to get out. We've asked to have something addressed on that. It's never been followed up. And now we have the people in the community have spoke. We're supposed to live in the democratic country, and we have a big majority saying, no, we don't want this rezoning, okay? And that property wasn't purchased that long ago, and whoever purchased this must have been aware of the zoning. So I don't see the issue, and there's all kinds of property elsewhere in the area that's zoned properly for what they want to build. So I just...
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Okay, thank you.
So is there anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, is there a mover or a seconder? If there isn't any, then the motion has... Is there someone who wishes? Oh, Conseillère Redjet, sorry. Go ahead. You are moving the motion? I need a seconder for the motion. If there is, you will second it, Councillor Butler? So we'll move to the vote. Qui? Is there anyone else who, I can't see if there's a light on? No, c'est bon. So we will go to the motion. Is this an electric vote? Yes.
Can we close the vote or see the results of the vote? There's 6 for the vote, 3 nays. Councillor Butler, Councillor Legier, and Councillor Kingston voted nay.
So the motion passes. Merci. Madame la greffière.
Next would be statements of council. Oh, no, sorry, my bad. I'm moving urban planning. Next is a tentative subdivision agreement of the Vineyard Unit 1, and I believe that Paul Edgar is here to provide the presentation.
Go ahead, bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and members of council. Administration has received an application to create the Vineyard subdivision on behalf of Hardell Holdings, Inc. Oh, too many. Sorry. The subject property is located on Elmwood Drive in Ward 1. The aerial photo here shows the area outlined in red that we're speaking about tonight. It is on the east side of Elmwood Drive, located between Castleton Road and Cormier Avenue, and is approximately 500 meters north of Granite Drive. The zoning for the lands is currently residential mix. That was rezoned in 2022. The tentative plan proposes to create 6 new lots, land for public purposes, in the following streets: Napa Valley Way, Tuscany Court, Tradition Street, Rodora Place, and a future street. As well, Lot 24-3000 will be created for stormwater detention purposes, and there will be a 5-meter public utility easement on all the proposed streets. The tentative plan of the subdivision, with that, one of the lots that basically has a house on it right now is being created to accommodate that home. The remaining 5 lots that are being created are being left as large lots for subdivision in the future. As part of this phase, the developer is providing 6,586 square meters of land to satisfy the 10% requirement for the land for public purposes. The proposed LPP block is located on the east side of Lot 25-1001 at the end of the proposed future street. This location is intended to serve as a temporary placeholder and will be combined with future phases of development. For this phase of development, the developer has proposed the following street names: Napa Valley, Tuscany, Tradition, and Rodora. Sidewalks will be provided on one side of all the proposed streets within the development, the only exception being the court, which, due to its low traffic volumes, does not require a sidewalk. As well, all the proposed streets will have trees planted every 10 meters. So recommendation, the Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Moncton City Council assent to the location of Wa Napa Valley Way, assent to the location of Core Tuscany Court, assent to the location of Rue Tradition Street, and assent to the location of Place Rodora Place, and assent to the location of the future street, and assent to the location of land for public purposes. The subdivision, if approved, should be subject to the conditions listed in your council report. Just noted here. Thank you.
Thank you,
Questions?
Paul. I need a mover and a seconder for this motion. Do I have one? Councillor Crossman moved, Councillor Kingston seconded. So questions from colleagues? Councillor Richard.
Merci, Maire Thériault. Thank you, Paul, for the presentation. I have a question on one of the street names, Rodora, and in the CRF, it's defined in the city's name bank as a plant found in New Brunswick.
Correct.
I'm not much into plants, so I had to look it up. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it did. Yeah. And of course, Google gave me lots, right? I took a quick look into it. It seems the name might be associated to a few negatives. Will displace all ground flora, destroy the rich biodiversity of our natural habitats, acidifies and degrades the soils, and it's poisonous to dogs.
Doesn't sound very accommodating, does it?
So, doesn't sound too... So I wasn't sure, I mean, how strong we are on the name, if the developer...
The developer has actually, just after the report was e-scribed and put through the system, provided a list of 5 alternatives. All 5 of the names are French. I can read them off to you now if you'd like, if it's council's choice to choose a different name out of this list. I am an Anglophone, so I'm going to try my best at pronunciation.
You can do
of
it.
these.
You can do it.
So Poitou is a region in France where many Acadian descendants originated from. That is in the name bank. Fermier is a name to celebrate our local farmers and all the hard work they put into providing us with fresh local produce and food. Again, that's in the name bank. Perseverance is a name that commemorates all Monctonians during tough times. That's the last one out of the name bank. The developers also provided two other names of their own choice. Vignoble, which is French for vineyard, and vigneron, and that is French for wine cultivator. So again, 5 separate French names, but if you choose to pick one of them, I think they are good with, developers are here, so I think they're good with any one of those.
So
Come out of there.
you named one of them Vignoble,
Vignoble.
and you said it was,
It's French
Vineyard?
for vineyard.
and this is the vineyard
And
subdivision?
this is a vineyard subdivision. It does fit, but it's not from the name bank. So that's, but it's council's prerogative to select the names, or to choose the names, basically, from this list.
So I guess I'd need some help on this. Is that, could we have an amendment, could I move an amendment to change the Redora name to Vignoble?
So you wish to make?
Well, I'm asking the question if I can do that.
Nick, go ahead, please.
Yes, you can move the motion here with that amendment to it, to change Redora to Vignoble.
Okay, because the motion's been moved. I'd have
Has
to
it?
make an amendment.
Has it been moved? I didn't.
It's
Okay,
been
so
moved.
you would be proposing an amendment,
Amendment.
which would have to be voted on first, before we
Okay.
vote on the main motion.
Okay, so I like Vignoble versus the poisonous dogs.
Yes.
I would move the amendment to change Redora to Vignoble, which would actually go well with the vineyard subdivision.
Do we have a seconder for Vignoble? Conseiller Léger? Merci, conseiller Richard. So, conseiller Bourgeois?
I think we have to vote on the amendment first,
Before-
and then I can come back to me.
So, do we not move? C'est beau. So, Vignoble, please raise your hands. C'est beau. Merci, conseiller Richard. Donc, conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Please suggest to the developers that when they come back to council with the name for the future street, that they would also try to have maybe a French name. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of French variety wines that we could find, Sancerre, Languedoc, I'm sure that but I'll leave it up to the developers with their discretion to find one instead of future street.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the future street's just kind of a placeholder at this time, so
Yeah.
it definitely will have a proper street name in the future.
Eventually.
Yeah, when we go into Unit 2. So,
And kudos on your French.
thank you.
Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Conseiller Kingston.
Merci, Madame Mattis. Thank you, Paul. I'm just getting picky on the names. Thank you, Councillor Richard. On the CRF, Napa Valley has 2 Ps. Further on down, it has the 1. I believe it's NAPA. Is that, I've never seen it with 2 Ps. There's
That
two.
could be a mistake on my part.
No, I'm
Apologize.
just
Yeah.
inquiring. I did work for Napa Canada for 20 years, but it was NAPA, and I'm assuming it's NAPA. There's two occasions on the CRF where it's NAPPA, and again, small potatoes, just thought I'd point that out.
Right, okay.
Thank you. Merci, Madame Mattis.
Merci, conseiller Kingston. Conseiller Crossman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Paul, thanks for the presentation. Just one quick question, I guess, is more concerned about the updating to Elmwood Drive that seems to be lagging. So as I look at this, I do see the traffic study was done. I went through this entire CRF, but I also see here that traffic signals are part of the developer when the left turning lane is in, based on, I think it's 148 doors or somewhere in that area.
149, yeah.
So the developer understands this, right? That moving forward, should this get approved today, that we're still under that, I guess, restriction of Elmwood Drive not being properly widened for the development that we want to see out there.
Correct, yeah. It was their traffic engineer that actually had these conditions, recommendations in the report. So we transferred them into our report as conditions.
Okay, and that was done through WSP?
Correct.
Yeah, perfect, great. They're great people to work with. They seem to do a great job on traffic, so.
They are.
But I just want to make sure on the record that Elmwood Drive is still stressed by waiting for updates.
Yeah.
And we cannot expand our housing developments out there until that is justified. Okay, good. Thank you, Paul, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Crossman. There are no other questions, so we voted on the amendment, so now we vote on the motion. Is that correct?
Yes, and the motion's up there with the motion is on the screen with the change of name. Councillor Kingston? Conseiller Richard? Okay. Can we see the results of the vote? One nay vote, Conseiller Léger.
Motion carried. Merci.
Thank you.
Now, it is councillor statements, and I believe that Councillor Richard has a statement.
Oui. Merci, Thériault and Shelley. So last Friday, Councillor Bourgeois and myself, I didn't see any other councillors. There might have been. Sorry if I missed you. We teamed up with over 1,000 volunteers for the United Ways Day of Caring here in Moncton. I think I've taken part every year since being elected in 2021, alongside City of Moncton staff who are able to join. It's always a pleasure working side by side with staff outside of City Hall. Big thank you to Shelley, all the volunteers, and the sponsors who helped make this amazing day happen. Merci.
Merci, Conseiller Richard. Conseillère Adjet.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I would like to speak and share this evening with residents the fact that the City of Moncton is undertaking a review of its municipal plan and zoning bylaw. The municipal plan is one of the municipality's most important documents, and it's used to guide our growth and development in the city for many years to come. The zoning bylaw implements the policies that make up the municipal plan by establishing development rules for the city and the actual rules that we as council and follows for our development purposes. The City of Moncton's current municipal plan and zoning bylaw were adopted in 2014. And now, 10 years later, we need to update it. Council is required to do this on a regular basis, and the most time that we can have it is 10 years. This ensures that the objectives and policies remain current and relevant and meet the requirements of the Community Planning Act, which is proposed to us from the province, and other provincial policies and regulations. The zoning bylaw must be updated to conform with the new municipal plan. This is a big project. Once the review is complete, the City of Moncton will have an updated municipal plan and zoning bylaw that is forward-looking and that will help ensure future growth and development aligns with the community's goals and priorities. Our future growth is already predicted to far exceed the predictions we made just a couple of years ago. I want to talk to you today about public participation. It is very important during this process that we have the participation of the public and individual groups with special interests. Notifications of all the engagement opportunities will be made available through our website and also through our Let's Chat window. Coming up right away is our first vision workshop, and all residents are invited to come forward and find out more information about the municipal plan process and to start giving their feedback. This will happen tomorrow, June 17th, Tuesday, from 2 to 4 and 6 to 8 at the Legends room at the Moncton Coliseum. You would need to access that from entrance C at the back of the Coliseum. I encourage everyone to come out and get more information on this very important project and meet the people that are on the committee and that are engaged to do this for the next year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Conseillère Adjet, for this. Thank you. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la Maire. J'avais deux items. Conseillère Edith vient juste de couvrir le premier. Le deuxième, c'est de rappeler aux citoyens et citoyennes qui conduisent que l'école se termine, vient de se terminer dans certains cas. Il y aura beaucoup d'enfants dans les rues qui vont traverser les rues pour accéder au parc, des choses comme ça de plus en plus. Donc, faites encore plus attention que normal. Merci, Madame la maire.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Madame la greffière.
Okay, next is recommendations from private meetings of Moncton City Council, June 9th, 2025. Moncton City Council at its private meeting of June 9th, 2025 reports that the agenda for the private meeting of that date was adopted and recommends the following. There are 4 recommendations coming before council. That Moncton City Council direct administration to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Anglophone East District, the Province of New Brunswick, Department of Education, and the City of Moncton for the installation and maintenance of an 18-hole disc golf course over a portion of Bernice McNaughton High School lands and a portion of the Centennial Park Trail, and for the installation of maintenance of a 9-hole disc golf course over a portion of Hillcrest land and a portion of Jones Lake public lands, to be identified following design, as well as to continue parties' agreement with respect to the Fairview Knoll Park Trail network over serving the Forest Glen School community and the Centennial Park Trail network over PID 00729368 on terms and conditions desirable to the parties. And it is further recommended that all required licenses or other agreements necessary to give effect to the memorandum of understanding be prepared by the legal department, and that the deputy mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign said contract and affix the corporate seal of the city of Moncton thereto. The background on this is the City of Moncton and Anglophone East districts have enjoyed a strong partnership over the years, resulting in enhancing community recreation. The proposed memorandum of understanding formalizes this cooperative effort and allows for the design, construction, and maintenance of 2 disc golf courses, as well as the continuous shared use and maintenance of trails and lands at several properties in Moncton. These properties are located in areas where provincial and municipal lands are abutting, and which, when used together, serve the school communities and surrounding residents by public trails or recreational use.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Légère and Conseiller Butler. Merci. Any questions? If there are no questions, we will go to the vote. Is this electronic? Yes.
Can we show the vote?
Yes. Motion carried unanimously. Merci. Madame la greffière.
Next is that Moncton City Council direct administration to enter into an agreement between 765783 NB Inc. and the City of Moncton for concession services at Centennial Park, for an initial term of 1 year with the option to renew the agreement for up to 3 additional terms of 1 year, and that the deputy mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all necessary documents and affix the corporate seal of the City of Moncton thereto. The background on this: the city has received a proposal from a vendor to operate a mobile ice cream truck at Centennial Park. This proposal includes offering a variety of ice cream scoops and beverages throughout the summer months. The mobile truck will also feature a clock displaying the schedule of the next tidal bore, accompanied by information pamphlets to promote the tidal bore phenomenon in Moncton.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Could I have a mover? Conseiller Richard. Conseiller Kingston. Merci. Any questions? No questions, so we will go to the vote. It's electronic vote. Motion carried unanimously. Merci. Madame
The third recommendation is Moncton City Council approve the hiring of a Division Chief of Fire Prevention and the purchase of a van that will cost approximately $208,000 in 2025, and that the annualized cost of this decision be added to the 2026 budget as a pre-approval. The background on this: the Moncton Fire Department's Fire Prevention Division holds a vital mandate in safeguarding our community from fire hazards through comprehensive and proactive measures. This division is responsible for critical functions such as conducting fire safety inspections across diverse property types, enforcement of the New Brunswick Fire Prevention Act and relevant codes, and developing and delivering essential public education and awareness programs tailored to our community's needs. Furthermore, the division plays a crucial role through fire investigations, working to determine the origin and cause of incidents to inform future prevention strategies and support law enforcement. At the heart of these efforts is a division chief's position, identified as a provincial leadership role by independent assessments. This position is directly responsible for ensuring that all fire prevention activities are strategically aligned with the fire department's overreaching goals for public safety. Their leadership is crucial for driving program development and overseeing performance and accountability, and maintaining excellence in the delivery of vital services to Moncton residents.
Merci, Madame Lagreffiere. Conseiller Butler, do you wish to move? Conseiller Légère, do you wish to second? Any questions? No questions, so we will go to the vote. Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
The final recommendation coming out of that meeting is that Moncton City Council authorize the City of Moncton to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with Plaza REIT to acquire a portion of PID 704140018 and 7056282 required for the construction of the Worthington Avenue extension in the City of Moncton and the province of New Brunswick, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all documents necessary to complete the purchase transaction and affix the corporate seal of the City of Moncton thereto. The background is, as part of the city's capital works program, the City of Moncton will be carrying out work to facilitate the Worthington Avenue Extension Phase 2 in 2025. This multi-year project involves the extension of Worthington Avenue and a new roundabout to serve the Shanix development from Mountain Road. Also included in this extension of Ayr Avenue from Preston Crescent to the new roundabout. Phase 2 is proposed for 2025 and will include the construction of the new road between the roundabout and Mountain Road, including a new signalized intersection at Mountain Road. All owners of the properties affected by this work have been consulted.
Merci. Moved by Councillor Butler, seconded by Conseiller Steeves. Any questions from colleagues? Don't see any on the vote. Motion carried unanimously. Merci. Madame Lagreffiere.
The next is the 2024 year-end audited financial statements, and Marc A. Saint-Pierre, partner KPMG, is here to provide that, and I believe that Jacques Doucette, our CFO, is going to introduce this topic.
Good evening, members of council. So as our city clerk mentioned, so we have today Marc Saint-Pierre, a partner at KPMG, that will go through the audit findings report. There is a French version in your package and also an English version, as well as the financial statements. As a reminder to council, today the statements that we are presenting are the PSAS statements, so the Public Sector Accounting Standards statements. They're a little bit different than the statements that administration would present to council at the Committee of the Whole. These ones include consolidation of our general fund, our utility fund, and also Moncton Industrial Development. Our Deputy Treasurer, Melanie Theriault, had gone through the audited statements for council at the April Committee of the Whole meeting. And from there, we had responded to the questions. Just a couple of things to point out to council before Mark goes through the audit findings report is, from a local government standpoint, we ended the year of 2024 with a surplus of $2.9 million for our general fund. A part of that $2.9 million was a 1.4 one-time payment that we received from WCB because the program had collected too much money from all corporations in New Brunswick, and they gave a payback because their fund exceeded a certain amount. And our utility fund had a year-end balance, a year-end surplus of $1.1 million. So that's where we ended from a local government. A little bit more difficult to find that in our PSAS statements, because in there again we have amortization and things like that that are more accounting standards. And the last comment as well that I will make before I pass it over, in the audit findings report, you'll see that there are 4 corrected audit misstatements. The 4 audit corrected misstatements are due to Moncton Industrial Development operations. 2 of them are normalized year entries that used to be made by the auditors, but now the standards, the auditing reporting requirements, they change. So again, those were there, but they have been there in past statements as well. And then AM2 and AM3 are year-end accrual entries that were not made because when MID prepared the financial statements, they prepared them on a cash basis. For future years, though, we have sat down with MID and the City of Moncton Finance Department will assist MID to make sure that in future years those things are not there. So we'll sit down with them, we'll create a process. It's basic. For us, it's basic things that we do on a normal basis with the city statements, so we'll just apply the same standards to MID. So that is all for me, and now I will pass it on to Mark for his presentations. Thank you.
Merci, Jacques. Bonsoir, Monsieur Saint-Pierre. Bonsoir.
Good evening. Deputy Mayor, members of City Council, I'm happy to be here to present our audit findings report, and thank you, Jacques. Hopefully you had a chance, the reports were issued in advance. Hopefully you had a chance to read that report, both English and French as well. I'm going to walk you through some of the highlights of our auditor's report in English. This audit findings report builds on the audit plan that we presented to City Council back in November 25th. There have been no significant changes to that plan. Our audit plan was executed in accordance with the plan that we presented to you folks. We are largely complete the audit. There are always a few remaining items, including the approval of the statements that we're working through. And just as Jacques mentioned, the consolidated financial statements do include the operations of MID as well, and they're being reported under public sector accounting standards. In our audit plan, we identified a number of areas one area of significant risk and other areas of material misstatements or areas of focus. Things like revenues, payroll, treasury, nothing to really highlight there. I will focus on the significant risks that we identify in every audit as we presented, the risk of management override of controls, and our audit executed those without any findings. A couple other areas I want to highlight, areas of focus around the employee future benefits. There's some significant estimates involved in determining that from an accounting perspective. Management engages an actuarial firm to prepare that information, and we engage our actuarial folks to audit and review that report. Again, nothing to highlight as a result of that audit work. Another area that was new this year, there was a couple new accounting standards that were applicable to the organization. The first one being private-public partnership. That's a accounting standard that came into play this year that management had to prepare an analysis. Really what that is when public sector entities enter into an arrangement with a private entity to build or procure infrastructure, either to design, build, finance, and/or operate and maintain for a period of time. Management identified one particular project that was back in 2002 and had, therefore, the standard was applicable, and you would have saw an adjusting entry, and what you do is you restate those on a comparative basis. So there was a $6.8 million adjustment to your cumulative surplus with an infrastructure asset being set up as a capital asset. So we executed that. Management prepared an analysis. We engaged our specialist in that area to review the work and can conclude that we're very comfortable with the procedures that were performed in that area. Another area that was new this year, didn't have an impact on the financials, was a new standard around revenue recognition in the public sector space. And it was really, in the public sector accounting standards, didn't define, it defined what tax revenues and government transfers were, but it really didn't have a section around performance obligations. So if there's a service being provided or a delivery of a product, the standards developed, there were criteria, the disclosures of how you recognize it. Management going through an analysis, and I can tell you that there was no impact to the financials other than revising the wording around revenue recognition to match the standards. Another area that impacted the audit that didn't impact management as much as it impacted us is the new auditing standard around CAS 600, which is a group reporting enhancement of auditing. So you are part of your, because you do have MID as a consolidated entity, those standards become applicable, and therefore we're required to follow those standards, which required an enhanced documentation, risk assessment, et cetera. So I just wanted to highlight those areas because they are different than in prior years. Happy to say that there are no uncorrecting audit misstatements. Management always, anything that gets identified through the audit, management either corrects them or they don't. And Jacques discussed the correcting entries in detail around MID. There were no entries found during the course of our audit with respect to the City of Moncton proper. Control deficiencies is another area I'd like to just touch on. In planning and performing our audit, we're required to think about internal controls around financial reporting matters. And it helps us in our expression of our audit opinion, but we don't issue an opinion on internal controls as such. But I can tell you that during the review of the internal controls around financial reporting matters, we didn't identify any significant control deficiencies that warrant your attention here today. And that's really the highlights of the report that I wanted to touch base on. I do, in closing, want to thank management, obviously, for their preparation and time in preparing for us to execute the audit. And also want to thank you folks tonight for your time, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions from? Oh, we have a motion. I need a mover and a seconder. Conseiller Butler, you will move. Conseiller Kingston, second. Any questions, please? Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la Maire. J'ai juste une question. C'est par rapport au contour. Comprenez-vous français?
Je comprends mieux que je parle.
Okay. I have the French version. Contournement des contrôles par la direction semble être un risque important. Est-ce que c'est vrai ou est-ce que je lis mal la diapositive des faits saillants de l'audit?
Sorry, could you maybe
Okay, I don't know what the terminology is in English, but in the first page after the table des matières, it says faits saillants, the highlights of the audit. Okay, on that page. In the middle of the page on the left-hand column, it says amongst, or if I read it correctly, important risks. And one of it is contournement, abuse or disrespect of the controls by the direction. I have no idea what it is written, how it is written in English. Could you explain what that means?
Absolutely. I'm with you now, sir. So as part of the auditing standards, if one of the core fundamental items that we have to think about, while we're auditing and providing an opinion that your financial statements aren't materially a misstatement, we are required to think about, consider where in the organization fraud may exist. And so we think, we don't presume there's fraud, but we do need to contemplate that as we think about, and there's two really important folks of the auditing, or pieces of the auditing literature that requires us to think about that. One is the risk of management override. So we think about that's a risk, fraud risk. Should management want to override systems of controls, they have the ability and access to do that. So we as auditors are required to think about where would management, should they want to override system of controls, do that. And so we think about areas like journal entries. And so we do a number of procedures around journal entries to ensure they're supported, that they're being reviewed and approved. We think about estimates in a set of financials. Should management want to bias or be fraudulent, there are judgments involved in estimates. So we focus on estimates and things like that, and or if there's any significant unusual transactions that requires management's judgments. And there wasn't anything significant or unusual in your financial statement. So this is a requirement that's embodied in every audit. Not particular to the City of Moncton, but we need to think about it as auditors where we think there's a risk, and then address it with procedures. And happy to present that we did not have any findings to report to you.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
And so you are confident that the measures that we have in place would prevent or minimize that risk?
Well, it's a very good question. So as I mentioned around controls, we focus our audit on internal controls relating to financial matters. We have an option whether we do a control-based audit or a substantive audit, and it depends on, the effectiveness, et cetera. And as I mentioned, we are required to think about financial reporting controls. And I'm very confident that when we've looked at those controls, that we're very confident that there's enough controls in place to mitigate any risk around financial reporting matters.
Okay, and final question, would you perform like specific audits on, for instance, certain transactions or certain estimates during any given time in the year, just to spot check to see if, how would you measure that, the risks increasing or decreasing?
Well, annually, while we do interim work, we're not here all the time. We do look back, we audit the full year. And so when we do our risk assessments on an annual basis, we think about areas of risk. Are there any new, with respect to a fraud risk, we need to think about a fraud risk triangle. Like, is there an opportunity for management to override systems of control, or is there a rationalization? Is there incentive to do so? So we think about those, and we think about if there's any changes in the environment. Maybe there's a new bonus plan based on, achieving budgets and things like that we think about, and that's how we would address it annually. And that's through discussions internally with management. We have discussions. We had discussions with Deputy Mayor Theriault this year, just to identify any areas of risk that would be that. While we're not auditing for fraud specifically, we're auditing whether your statements are materially misstated, but we are required to consider it as part of our plan.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame le Maire.
Merci, Conseiller Légère.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Thanks for the overview. I'm just wondering, in the financial statements on page 7, it talks about And I'm just curious on the difference between 2023 and 2024. There's a line there that talks about advances on line of credit, and that previously was about 3.6 million, and it's 10.1. I just wanted to see what the referral, what is that referenced?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councilor Leger. So again, as mentioned, these statements are not just the City of Moncton, they would also have MID, so that would be related to MID's business.
And the same as the land and land development, that one I did catch in the explanations, but that one wasn't there. And then the large change in accrued pension asset is attributable to what?
What line would that be?
Oh, that would be, it's same page.
Okay.
It's just up above under the annual surplus. About the seventh or eighth item. It says change in accrued pension asset. Went from almost 5 million to 14 million.
Changes.
On page 7, though.
You have the specific answer, Mel? I can't find it, hold on.
It's okay. Yeah. If you look at the annual surplus, Jacques, and it says items not affecting cash, and it talks about amortization of tangible capital assets. If you go down another 4 or 5 lines, you'll see change in accrued pension asset.
So Councillor Leger. So yes, for that particular item, whereas I guess KPMG uses a set of standards for auditing, the actuaries use some standards for their reporting and their estimates as well. And
Okay.
part of what they use is a valuation based on, there's a valuation that gets done based on the solvency rates. And if it reaches a certain threshold, they have to make different estimates. And from what I understand, this year the thresholds changed, so they had to release what was put in there last year. So it's a
Okay.
part of the accounting of the actuarial reports.
And that's how it's accounted for in this report. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Merci.
Any other questions? No questions, so we'll go to the vote. It's electronic vote. Merci, Monsieur Saint-Pierre.
Can we see the results?
Motion carried unanimously. Merci. Madame la greffière.
Oui. The next is a city contract number W25D04 FB Street Reconstruction Number 3. And the motion that's before council today is that city contract number W25D04 FB Street Reconstruction Number 3 be awarded to Dexter Construction Company Limited in the amount of $2,264,367.25, including HST, and that the budget for the project be set at $2,190,000, including net HST engineering and contingency. It is also recommended that a contract be drafted and that the deputy mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign said contract and affix the corporate seal of the city of Moncton.
Merci. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Conseiller Kingston, Conseiller Edgett. Merci. Any questions from colleagues? Conseiller Crossman, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not sure, Elaine, maybe I'll direct my question to, sure, through the CAO. Harrisville Boulevard, lots of truck traffic. We're talking pave here, right? We're not talking putting down cement at the intersection, because it seems that it wears away extremely quickly. And I didn't realize it in the CRF. I didn't see it at any point, mention of cement for the intersection, but
Thank you, Councillor Crossman, for that question. I believe it is a pavement, but I will let.
Yeah, it is asphalt.
It is asphalt?
Yeah, and we're putting 2 layers of geogrid. It's a heavy truck traffic area.
Yeah,
So
it's,
we've done a design on this, and yes.
okay, that was my concern,
Yeah.
because there is that truck stop there
Yes,
that's
yeah.
recent, and as well as the industrial
Yeah.
park. So I'm curious how long this asphalt will last versus cement.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, time will tell, I guess, so.
Yes.
Good, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, Worship.
Merci, Conseiller Léger.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Just a question, two questions, actually. So one is Big Boulevard. So what exactly, it's a small stretch, and it was thrown into this tender. So I'm just wondering, it's likely the section that is still unrepaired at the moment. So what is happening with that small section of Big Boulevard that requires this type of, almost like an emergency repair?
Same thing here. I guess it's a heavy truck traffic, so the asphalt has been in really bad shape. So trying to patch it would not work. So we're doing same thing as Harrisville. We're excavating, putting a geograde, gravel, and paving.
And so 305 to 315, is that almost like from McDonald Pontiac to?
No, it's towards Edinburgh Drive.
Towards Edinburgh Drive, and it brings us far as Coast Tire or beyond that, or?
It's only 70 meters long.
Yeah, so, but
it's
the
only
whole-
a section that's the asphalt is really.
So
in
we're
bad
doing
shape.
the worst section,
Yes, yeah. Just,
but the rest of the big boulevard's in rough shape. But
yeah,
but
that'll come in the future years. Yes.
that'll come in future years. This is the worst of the
This
worst.
is just right. And we're just want to fix.
Okay, all right. And I have an unrelated question, but related to construction. So, because this is the first time it's happened, so I don't know, maybe I just haven't been in traffic when this has happened. But this morning on St. George Boulevard, and maybe this is the same process for all the construction, but at one point in time, the complete St. George Boulevard was blocked for over 20 minutes. I was told it was just a changeover. I guess they manually had to walk down the whole stretch and move pylons. We had people doing U-turns on St. George Boulevard. They were doing U-turns on Milner. Is that normal practice? And I've never seen. I'm surprised. I understand what they were trying to do because they were milling and they were moving 2 lanes, but I found that was very inefficient. And I just wanted to ask, if it's standard practice, is there not a better way that we could do that where it wouldn't have to be like that? I was just waiting for an accident to happen. People were losing it. I mean, I wasn't going
Conseiller
anywhere in a rush.
Léger, may I just intervene?
curious.
Could we ask this question?
Maybe
Yeah.
direct it to city manager or
Yes,
somebody,
please.
and then maybe just come back to me. But I
And-
just, you know.
And focus on the motion, please.
Yeah.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. So could we go to the vote? There are no other questions?
Could we see the results, please?
Motion passes unanimously. Merci.
Okay, next is a request for proposal, RFP 24013, Parking Management and Enforcement Solutions. The motion before council is that Moncton City Council approve administration's recommendation to award request for proposal RFP 24013 for the supply and implementation of a parking management and enforcement solution to the highest scoring proponent being Hotspot Parking, Inc., a division of Arcadis Professional Services Canada, Inc., for a 5-year term with options to extend the agreement for up to 2 additional 5-year periods for a total estimated 5-year cost of $1,457,871.10, including HST at 15%. Furthermore, it's recommended that a contingency allowance be established for the project in the amount of $20,000 plus net HST to address any unknown, unforeseen site conditions which may be encountered during the course of the project. And furthermore, that the shortfall in the capital budget funding of $279,588 be funded from the operational savings in the bylaw division. And I see that Chief Landry is here and Tanya Carter to provide a PowerPoint.
Bonsoir, Tanya.
Bonsoir. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Essentially, through this request for proposal process, we went to market late 2024 to engage the services of a highly qualified, experienced, and knowledgeable firm to complete the supply and installation of a new modern parking management and enforcement solution for use by the bylaw enforcement division. And this will be achieved through a multi-phase project. As Shelley mentioned, we're looking to enter into a 5-year contract with options to extend it for another 10 years after that with the successful proponent, Hotspot Parking. We received 2 proposals. We went through an extensive vetting process of this proponent once they were shortlisted. And Conrad the fire chief, will be presenting an overview of the proposed digital system, and I will pass it over to him.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir, la mairesse et conseil. So yeah, I just want to quickly go over and mostly explain what digital parking means also. So it's not new to the city, but we'll go through those. So first of all, as inventory, so if we look on the street parking, we have 807 street parking that we control, and that is divided into 465 meters, so actual physical meters, and 338 hotspot signs. So those are the signs that you might have already seen that has the hotspot. And surface lots, so we have 486 spots, and that's divided in 3 parking lots that's already hotspot, so that would be Riverfront, the Market, and Seymour. And we have 2 gated parking lots, which would be the parking garage and City Hall. So the current challenges that we had, one is our meter's outdated, can't take tap or PayPal or stuff like that. We needed to upgrade them anyways. They're getting aged a little bit. We also, residents and visitors are frustrated with the experience. We're getting a lot of complaints either through the gates or through the meters. It does create some congestion after a show or after a big event, especially the gated areas. We see a lot of frustration, and also for searching for parking lots is where's their parking, what's the parking inventory, where can I park in Moncton during the event? We don't have that capacity right now. There is loss of revenue because of loss of the broken meters, and gates are often need maintenance. There's obviously maintenance costs. It is very manual process for the permitting. So if you want a monthly permit or a residential permit, it's very hand paper based. And lack of accuracy data reporting. So we don't have up-to-date data. Sometimes it's a month after, or even not good data. So we really wanted the proponent to give us a lot of good just-in-time data. So the RFP objectives was to acquire a digital parking control and management solution to replace all existing meters and gates. Ultimately was to improve the user experience. We wanted the people that come and experience our city, either to a tourist or residents, to have a better experience. Increase workforce capability and efficiency. Obviously, we wanted our staff to be as efficient as possible, and I'll explain that a little later on. Increase parking bylaw compliance. So by us being more efficient, then we can monitor the situation. We'll have more time to monitor the situation throughout the city, and gives us ultimately more compliance with our bylaws. Improve data and reporting capabilities. As I mentioned, we really wanted to know what's out there, when is the peak time or when's there some slow times. Improve functional capabilities, of course, that's without saying. The project scope, so part of the scope of this RFP was to remove all existing parking meters and gates, eliminate the manual permits for monthly residential and visitor parking, so we wanted something digital instead of manual. Eliminate of manual parking enforcement process from officers writing physical tickets with the pen and paper. We wanted to eliminate that. significantly reduce manual payment for parking spaces or parking citations. So again, going to the gate and putting your card and putting your PIN number, et cetera, or by paying your fine. There is a method online. It's not the greatest. You can't pay on your phone, et cetera. So, or they have to come physically to City Hall. And ultimately, it's create a single end-to-end digital parking system. So from the time they're looking for a parking spot till the time they exit the parking spot, and if unfortunately they have a ticket, to process that ticket and pay their ticket. What is digital parking? Well, digital parking, if I summarize it, it's three components. Is the user will be able to pay three ways. One, they'll be able to pay through the app. If they download the app, the advantage of downloading the app is a few things. Is A, they can pay for the parking from wherever they want, from their car, from the restaurant, etc. If there's also, if they want to extend the parking, they'll have or if their parking is about to expire, they'll get a notification. And most importantly, they can pay for like 17 minutes of parking. They don't have to pay 2 hours or 1 hour. It's not rounded up. It's exactly the amount of time that you need. So that's really important. Some people may not be comfortable with downloading an app. So another option is the QR code. That's what we have also currently. So basically on the sign, potentially from your car, you can scan it. It might need to be a little closer, but you scan the code. You don't need to download an app. Obviously, it automatically asks you for credit card information. And the other one is pay stations. So part of the requests, we were requesting for 30 pay stations. So these pay stations would be deployed throughout wherever there's parking or paid parking. And this would accept everything from cash to tap to credit cards to debit, whatever. And those, we wanted to make sure there's a lot. We did consult with a lot of municipalities that already use this, and it was something that was brought up. Is some people are just not comfortable with the technology. So we wanted to have these pay stations. This is all based on what's called LPR technology, so it's license plate recognition. So it's all about license plate. So from the person entering the license plate in the app or on the pay station or the QR codes, and the officers also, they just scan the license plate either with a handheld or with, again, part of the requisition would have some permanent readers on the vehicles, so they would just drive slowly on a street and it would scan the license plate. If it's green, that means they're good. If it's red, that means there's a violation. So a lot more efficient. They don't have to come out, check the meter, check the plate, et cetera. It's all based on the license plate. Automated payment options, permit management and enforcement. So everything can be done through the computer, through the app, or by calling City Hall. Reduces reliance on hardware. Right now, meters and gates, it's really challenging. So now, instead of 500 meters, we'd have 30 pay stations to maintain and collect the monies from. And some signs, obviously, but signs are a lot easier to maintain than meters. Cloud-based administration and real-time data, and that's really important. So at any given time, we want to know how many spots are there available, and in the City of Moncton, we can say that. We'll know exactly what's available. So why adopt digital parking? User convenience. So the user can find, reserve, and pay for parking space from a smartphone or an extended time remotely or stop session. So basically either on the app, and there'll be a link on our website, so people can go see what's available. So they can see on a certain street, there's 3 spots available right now. They can make their way right there on there. You could potentially have a reserve, so someone could reserve their spot 15 minutes in advance or whatever, so they're guaranteed a spot by the time they arrive there. Digital pay stations available for non-smartphone users, as I mentioned, for convenience. Reduced maintenance costs, significant reduction in physical assets, parking meters and gates. That's going to be huge. Staff time is going to be significantly improved. And eliminate of printing parking permits. So that's the actual permit, not a fine, not a citation. But so this is all license plates. So again, residential parking program. This is going to be a lot easier to enforce, implement, and expand if ever we decide to do that. This is an example of the sign. So we already have these in the city. We've been working with Hotspot for many, many years. So this is kind of the top part would be on your app. You download the app, you put that number 1003, put your license plate, how much time you want, and you pay for it. If you're not comfortable with that, the bottom part's that QR code. You scan the QR code and it just goes to your, ask for your license plate and, of course, your credit card or a method of payment. That's a sample of pay stations. These pay stations would be solar panels, so there's no infrastructure. We just need to secure them in the ground, and they'd be kind of self-sufficient in that way, so internet and solar panel. And of course, part of our requirement was to make sure that they're as vandal-proof as possible and as easy to use as possible. So we'd be requiring about 30 of those. This is a sample of, again, to look at the map and see where there'd be some available parking. So at a bird's eye view, they can see where there's available parking in the city or where there's none, and either on the phone or on the website or whatever they're more comfortable with. So why adopt digital parking? Enhance enforcement, so real-time monitoring of parking sessions. So again, at any given time, we know how many, what's the inventory of available space or full space. Of course, staff efficiency with the license plate recognition is huge, so a lot more efficient in checking the license plate. Digital chalking, that's what's called, so what happens if there's not a meter, but there's a 2-hour limit. So let's say there's a street that's a 2-hour limit, for example. We digitally chalk that, and 2 hours after, we can go again, and it tells us if it's the same vehicle, et cetera. So now it's physically have to put a chalk, that's why it's called chalk, on the tire and on the ground to make sure the car has not been moved. So they have to get out of the vehicle and chalk it. So, so now we would do this digitally. Reduce human error because it's a scan of the license plate. A lot of times they either, because they have to write it in or type it in, wrong license plate, then we have to void the ticket. Digital or in-person payments so they can pay right from the app or by calling, et cetera. And automated notices and reminders. So if they, after 10 days, if they haven't paid their ticket, we don't have to do any staff intervention, automatically sends them a reminder that they haven't paid their ticket yet. That's a sample of what would go on a vehicle. Not necessarily, we'll have to consult with the, if this passes through on where physically we're going to put it, but it's kind of had that, maybe an older version, but it's got to kind of have 3 cameras so it can kind of pick up any license plate while it's driving slow around the city. This is also kind of on our end what we would see. So when we scan it, then we can add the picture. Also, we would be linked to Service New Brunswick, so we'd have information on the vehicle, so the VIN number, et cetera, the owner. So it's a lot more information, less typing for the officers. So. And again, if ever it's contested in court, then we have all this data that we can bring with us in court. That's a sample of the actual ticket, so we would use the format from the province of New Brunswick, and when we give a ticket, so it would print out. St. John, Fredericton already uses this, so it's already in New Brunswick. Now, many cities uses this around the country, but of course, we talked a lot with Fredericton and St. John, so that because they're using it in New Brunswick. So, and then you can see the QR code, so they can actually literally scan the QR code and pay their ticket from wherever they are. Digital permit and automated billing, so automated credit card billing, so for the monthly users or right now residential parking, there's no charge, but if ever there would be a charge, that would be automatic charge. However, we want to see if there's automatic billing that happens. Automated permit expiry, so it reminds, instead of a staff going through the software or an Excel spreadsheet, we would automatically say, hey, your permit, your monthly permit's about to expire in a few days or in a few months or whatever we set the parameters to. Permit wait list, so let's say the parking garage, our idea is, let's say we want to do about 50% or 60% of monthlies and leave the rest for ongoing users. We could create a wait list, so the system automatically does that. They put their wait list, and as soon as one spot becomes available, they're already notified, the first one on the list, and they can buy their monthly permit right there without any staff intervention. online account management features for permit holders. So this is, they can go manage their own permit. What's great about this is that you pay for a spot, so you can have 10 cars if you want, as long as you put the right license plate when you park. It really doesn't matter which vehicle you have. You just pay for one monthly permit, but you can only have one vehicle at a time. But also for, if we have a large client, we can give them access and they can manage their staff. So let's just say we have some customers that, for example, that pay they have 75 monthly permits with us. They manage it themselves. So if a new staff comes in, new staff leaves, they'll just go in the system and change the license plate. It's really easy to do. And reduces or eliminates the risk of duplication of expired permits, et cetera, because there's less human error in manual entry. Again, real-time data, occupancy rates. So we're very interested in knowing when's our peak time, when can we sell more monthlies versus when is regular users. So really to maximize the revenue as much as possible. We all know certain parking lots at lunchtime is better, but what about the time of the year, the time of the month, time of the week? So we want to really know our occupancy rate. Parking revenue collection, so of course the revenue, it's automatic. Parking fraction, so it's all real time. So we would know exactly how much revenue we have up to date, or how much revenue we collected today, or how many infraction was there today, or yesterday, or last night, whatever it is. As I mentioned, peak use times. Optimized parking management, so just for us, again, allowing so many spots in a certain parking lot. Parking citation life cycle. So again, it takes it from the time it's issued a citation till potentially the time it goes to court. It's all one system that takes care of that. So it's going to reduce a lot on the staff time. Environmentally friendly, so yeah, by reducing the search, so they have to search less if they use the app or go on the website. They know where the parking is, so they're just not going around the block. They know where they're going to go before they leave the house, potentially. Less traffic congestion after an event or at the Capitol Theater. A lot of times in the parking garage we have congestion, or after a meeting at City Hall. And of course, could reduce lower emission by less idling. So the recommendation, we did form a cross-department working group to develop a phased implementation plan with the successful proponent. Would replace 465 meters with signage displaying the QR codes and 30 pay stations. Remove the gates from the parking garage in City Hall. We would implement the digital residential parking and visitor parking, and obviously implement the license recognition parking. Potential concerns, so we did definitely look at that. So costs, it would be a phased in, so probably it'll go a little bit till next year before we're finished everything. So it's going to be phased in. Privacy, of course, our IS department looked at everything and made sure that the encryption and it's all meets all the regular standards. Accessibility, if people are, again, want to pay from cash to credit cards to the app, whatever they're comfortable with, it is accessible. There will be a learning curve, so we've been working with communication. We're working on a video right now, a short video, some pamphlets, some promotional material. We have a PowerPoint to go see maybe a certain demographics of people that would need more time to understand this. So Natalie, our coordinators, is working on that to go to nursing homes, for example. The impact, I already met with DMCI and the Chamber of Commerce to tell them that we're looking at going digital. So they were very, very supportive. Now, if this is approved tonight, then of course I'll meet with them again, and also like the hospitals and the tourists and any seniors association, for example. We just have a realm of different ways to promote it and explain it so that it's as easy as a transition. The good news, we already have Hotspot for many, many years in Moncton, so it's not new to Moncton. It's just going to be new to some users. So we want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible. Thank you very much. Questions?
Merci. Non, je vais. Conseiller Edgett, did you wish to move the motion? You do, and Conseiller Richard, you will second. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des questions pour Conseiller Edgett? You have a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Merci, Madame la Mairesse. This is great news. My goodness, I've been using Hotspot for years. It's an excellent system, and when I see all the broken meters out there and the parking lots and everything like this is long. I wish we could have had this in place a year ago. So I'm definitely in favor of that. I was very interested with the aspect that you said that you can reserve beforehand. Okay, so that brings up the issue also of what happens when you look at the app and it says it's an available place and there's a car parked there. Is there a way of reporting that somebody is not, like, if the app says you can park there and there's a car there?
Right.
Is there a way of reporting that to Hotspot, or how do you work around that?
So they can report it to Hotspot. Now, Hotspot is probably not going to do it because they're not physically there.
Yeah.
But if they call our bylaw,
Oh,
then
it'd
we'll
be
go right
bylaw.
there, and then we'll
Okay.
give them a ticket, or potentially, depending on the situation, we could get the vehicle towed.
So the reserving ahead, so if someone goes in that spot that is reserved and there's no car there, so if they try to reserve that, they wouldn't be able
they
to,
won't be able-
obviously. It would not allow them to do that, which
Exactly.
makes sense, right?
exactly.
So I see that as a big advantage for the hospital. So are these going to be all around the hospital?
Everywhere there's a meter or a parking lot that you have to pay, they'll be in there. So right around the hospital, yes.
Okay. So I imagine that we've missed a lot in parking revenues over the last few years. Have you estimated what the increase in revenues will be in the years once it's installed? Because we're going to invest over $1 million, right?
Jacques, do you want to take that one?
Our annual versus our projected.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Edgett. It's hard to estimate at this point because we wouldn't want to project something and then it falls short. But the one thing with this system where we're comfortable is that because of the technology, we'll be able to maximize our revenues. Versus now we're at the dependency of a human being. We'll still be at the dependency of an enforcement officer, for example, to enforce it or so on. But it will be a lot easier for the enforcement individuals to catch individuals who are not paying for their spots. So that will certainly do on the on-street. It's almost like having a police force enforcing speed. The more you have it, then after it becomes a habit, if I don't pay, I'm going to get a ticket. So it'll enforce that way. In the parking lots, it's also going to give an advantage because you'll be able to set those min and maxes where to guarantee the monthly users will have their spots, but take advantage of all the other spots that are available as well. And thirdly, by having the map, if you can imagine somebody who comes from outside of Moncton who is a little bit intimidated in terms of finding a spot, where let's say they want to go to a storefront on Main Street, and they'll see 10, 15, 20 spots available in the downtown, they'll want to come because they'll have comfort versus now I may just go around and maybe I'll stop at the Champlain Mall in Dieppe or something rather than go downtown. So we should be able to maximize. And then the other thing too, by having better data, we can propose options to council on how to even maximize it even more. For example, if we're seeing that there's peak demand for something, well, maybe you know what? That warrants an increase. Or if we're seeing that there's a major loss of revenue in certain hours and we need that extra revenue, council will have that data to make the decision.
I think it's excellent. The location of the pay stations, because as you pointed out, there's always going to be people that want to pay by cash and won't be wanting to use the app. But how will we make it known where those are located? Because if they're coming to park that want to be parking near a pay station, are the pay stations going to be fairly near most parking, or how do people know that?
Yeah, so we're going to work with the if they're successful in the parking lot. That's pretty obvious. They'll be depending on the size of the parking lot, there'll be one or two. But around, if you park on the street from any part, you'll be able to see a pay station from wherever you park.
From where you are. Okay.
So you might have to walk a few
Yeah.
blocks, not a few blocks, sorry, a few spots, but you will be able to see where they are.
Where they are. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Merci, Conseiller Richard.
Merci, Maire Esterio. Merci, Chief. So cash is still an option?
Yes.
Okay. And we're talking about the parking meters being vandalized. I'm guessing there's a significant difference in cost if they vandalize the pay station.
Correct, yes.
We're ready for that.
Yeah, but we have, again, 30 versus 500, and these pay stations are more modern, and they know they're in big cities that have vandals also, so they've been tried and true. Not saying it's impossible, it's a lot harder. They're kind of made like a ATM bank machine, kind of. That's the principle.
That's great. So, and I think you kind of touched on this. I have an account. I can pay for different vehicles. I've got different license plate numbers and registered in my hotspot, so I can pay for different ones at the same time, or?
Yeah, so again, if you can pay just for one, but have multiple license plate, it's just that you can only use one of those license plates, so you can't.
At a time.
Your spouse and yourself can't park at the same time if you only paid for one, but if you paid for two, so you just scroll to the license plate that you want to use that day.
Okay. So daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spots it'll be available like that?
Yes, so we call them monthlies, but yeah, if someone pays monthly, their spot, and they'll get a warning or an email saying, hey, you're about to expire in 2 weeks, so you want to extend for another month. And if they don't pay by that after the numerous emails, then they lose their spot. But as long as they continue paying, they keep their spots.
Perfect. And right now, I think you can have 2 hours. And can you renew after the 2 hours?
So 2 hours on street parking, and it's unlimited in parking lots. And the reason for that is on street parking, we want the traffic to move because we want new customers to come in. So if you go shopping for 2 hours, but we don't want workers, employees to park on the street because we want to leave it for the customers and we want that to move. That's the principle of why it's 2 hours. Versus a parking lot, parking lots are made for longer terms. So if someone wants to leave their car there all day, then that's perfect.
Okay, so I'm glad you went into that. I'm going to go into the hospitals then.
Yes.
Somebody who goes in for an appointment is not guaranteed to be out of there in 2 hours.
Correct.
Are we going to be looking at maybe changing that to an extended maybe 3 or 4 hours around the hospitals for those situations?
We can certainly look at that. I mean, again, and we all understand that the limits and the challenge they have. So if there's no parking lot spot, because again, the hospital parking lot, there's no parking lot, so that's something that we definitely can look at for sure.
And I guess I'm looking at it, there's revenue to be made. If it's not to be made in the parking lot because there's no room, if we can make the revenue from the street and accommodate whoever's going to the hospital for appointments.
Right, no, absolutely.
Because that's happening very recently that I had the
And we do get those concerns a lot. So someone say, "Oh, it took 3 hours from my doctor." And normally we void the ticket if they have that. Now we don't want to do an 8-hour thing because we don't want staff to park there. But if it's 3, and we can definitely look at that. Yes.
I hope that would be looked at because that could alleviate a lot of stress from patients, from people going to the hospital. So.
No, I agree.
Okay. Merci beaucoup.
Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la maire. Merci, Monsieur Landry. Chef Landry, j'ai vraiment une préoccupation, mais j'ai besoin de petites informations avant. Là. Ça fait le système qu'on a là maintenant date de 2014 à 2018. On a commencé à les installer en 2014, puis ça finit en 2018, si je comprends bien.
C'est ça, oui.
Comment ça avait coûté à l'époque de faire ces nouveaux meters-là? Là?
C'était avant mon temps, je sais pas. D'après Tania, c'est au-delà d'1 million.
OK. C'est à peu près le même prix. Est-ce qu'on a, pour revenir à la question de conseillère Edget que je partage, qu'est-ce qu'on a gagné depuis une dizaine d'années sur nos meters en travers de la ville, même si on n'en a pas eu 100% de ristourne, mais à peu près combien d'argent par année en moyenne qu'on gagne?
C'est difficile à prédire parce que dans les dernières années, on a été impacté avec le COVID aussi. Puis ensuite, en sortant de COVID, on a beaucoup de nos meters qui ne marchaient pas. Donc, on n'a pas nécessairement du bon data. La seule chose que je sais, c'est on fait à peu près de gross revenue parce que le système marche comme il faut. On faisait environ 2 millions de gross revenue par année, puis c'était environ moitié-moitié entre les on-street puis les stationnements, les parking lots. Donc, ça serait à peu près 1 million sur le on-street. Mais je peux te donner des numéros beaucoup plus précis.
C'est OK, même si c'était les 5 années avant COVID, là, depuis de 2014 à 2019. C'est quand même, on va dire, 2 millions. Puis on n'était pas à 100% efficace. Donc, avec celui-ci, on devrait être capable de gagner 2 millions par année.
Et plus.
Et plus.
Oui.
Parfait. Donc, ça vaut le 1,5 million, en souhaitant que ça va durer 10, 12 années aussi. Pour tous les autres avantages, là, mais financièrement, c'est un avantage de faire ça. Mais ma deuxième question, c'est qu'est-ce qui paye pour les réparations aux machines?
Ça serait nous autres.
C'est sûr qu'il va y avoir un garantie pour des telles choses, mais à part de ça, c'est partie du budget.
OK. Est-ce que c'est... Moi, je vais suggérer, il n'y a pas personne qui va endommager ces machines-là s'il n'y a pas de cash. Si c'est toutes des transactions électroniques, carte de crédit, carte de débit, etc., il n'y a pas d'argent volé.
Absolument.
Il y a peut-être quelqu'un qui va le faire juste parce qu'il veut être issable, mais ça sera l'exception à la règle. So, est-ce qu'il y a une façon de dire, dommage, on ne prend pas de cash, la plupart, je dirais 99% du monde doit avoir une carte de débit ou une carte de crédit. So, là, on minimiserait le risque de dommage parce que ça ne doit pas coûter 1200 $ pour une machine comme ça, là.
Non. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? On a parlé à plusieurs, puis comme la ville d'Edmonton, par exemple, eux sont en train, ils étaient dus, ça fait longtemps qu'ils ont ça, ils étaient dus pour remplacer leur machine, puis eux, leur nouvelle machine qu'ils mettent, zéro cash.
C'est ça.
Donc, c'est nous autres, on a pensé, on veut faire ça, une transition tant facile que possible avec la communauté, puis c'est peut-être dans 5 ans ou 10 ans qu'on va commencer à diminuer, puis juste les convertir avec plus de cash. Mais l'idée, c'était d'accommoder autant les personnes possible, à être flexible.
Oui, mais je sais pas, risk reward, là. On a beaucoup de sans-abri, puis il y a un 25% des sans-abri qui commettent des crimes, puis si on leur donne une occasion en or d'accéder à 25-30 pièces de change, pourquoi prendre ce risque-là? Ça fait, je vous laisse ça, là, mais il me semble que ça ferait du sens d'aller digital, mais électronique au complet, puis éliminer le cash, là.
Comme là, déjà, excuse-moi, Jacques, on a déjà des plaintes comme au marché, les gens qui vont dans les restaurants au plat qui se plaignent. On a eu une dernièrement là, qui voulait absolument, j'ai oublié mon téléphone, j'ai oublié l'histoire, là. Puis là, j'avais du cash, mais en tout cas, c'est l'exception probablement. Là, mais
au pire, aller, ils vont au garage, ils sont capables de payer électroniquement. Là, ça fait... En tout cas, je vous laisse ça, là, mais moi, je ne voudrais pas prendre le risque.
Non, ma seule autre chose à ajouter à ça, c'est certain que les PayStation, puis parce que la technologie fonctionne, beaucoup des gens, puis le PayStation a quand même une utilité. Le fait qu'on accepte du cash, c'est comme le stationnement de les gates qu'on a tout de suite. Le fait qu'on prend du cash, ça génère des problèmes pour le bénéfice d'un petit montant de la population. Ça, c'est certain. C'est parfois des décisions un petit peu difficiles pour les conseils de prendre parce qu'il y a quand même des gens maintenant qui sont confortables avec du cash, mais c'est une considération qu'on peut certainement considérer parce que l'autre chose, pendant COVID et ça, il y a beaucoup des endroits qui acceptent plus de cash, puis la population sera comme ajustée un petit peu, mais on aura quand même un petit peu de plaintes. Mais c'est sûr, si tu enlèves le cash, tu vas enlever des problèmes, puis tu vas enlever des coûts supplémentaires dans les années à arranger ces machines-là, puis des choses de même. Des fois, ils mettent trop de scènes, ça bouche, c'est du cash, ça crée des problèmes. Mais c'est quelque chose qu'on peut prendre en considération.
Puis, dernier argument, ça prend quelqu'un pour aller chercher cet argent-là.
Absolument.
En tout cas, je vous laisse ça. Merci, Mme le maire.
Merci.
Merci, conseiller Légère.
Merci, Mme la mairesse. C'est intéressant parce que j'étais à Québec récemment, puis ils ont commencé à avoir des problèmes, eux autres, avec cash. que ça bloque. Puis, parce que je ne savais pas exactement comment leur système fonctionnait, ça. Ils sont arrivés, puis ça, je leur ai demandé à leurs officiers une explication. Donc, c'est peut-être une considération. Pour la lecture des plaques immatricules, là, je pense que vous étiez ici quand j'ai mentionné au commandant le fait qu'on a des plaques que tu ne peux pas les lire. Là. So, est-ce que cette technologie-là va vous permettre quand même de lire ces plaques-là?
Ça se peut, ça dépend comment grave qu'elle est, mais si jamais que ça ne fonctionne pas, ils peuvent aller puis mettre la plaque dans l'auto, puis juste mettre la plaque manuellement. Ça, c'est une option, en tout cas. Même chose s'il y a de la neige ou quelque chose, il faut qu'il débarque puis qu'il nettoie, ou si l'auto est reculée puis on ne peut pas accéder la plaque en arrière. So, il va encore avoir des exceptions que le reader ne va pas pogner, là, mais...
Okay.
Ouais.
So, and one other question. So, just coming back to the reservation piece. So, I was just trying to understand if the space is available, and so let's say you want to reserve it. Do you actually reserve it, or you just know that it's there?
No, there's a system that you can actually reserve it.
Okay. And is there a number for each space?
Well, that's exactly. If we want to go with the reservation, we can either say, okay, so there's two ways of doing that. So let's just say we are thinking of going zone-wise, so in order to find out how much revenue we would get or how much infraction or what's being used. So let's just say we say a certain block on St. George can only accept 10 cars. If there's one that's a reserve, they will only accept 9. Or you could go individually spot by spot, but that would be a sign at every spot, and it'd be a lot more costly, and then it'd be harder to evaluate kind of the area or certain. So, but yeah, that's how it works. In a zone, like a parking lot, if you can only put 5 spots, you reserve one, there's only 4 left. So it won't let you.
So the system might recognize there's 10.
Yes.
Okay. There's 2 of the 10 still available. Let's say 2 people reserve those. Somebody else shows up, the system should not allow them
Correct.
to be able to
That's right.
go
You're
in
going to
that
scan, it's going to
space.
say lots full.
That must be how some of that can work.
Absolutely. Same thing with parking lots. If, let's just say they see there's empty spot, but those are reserved for monthlies, so they're going to go, well, no, parking lot's full, and they're going to call us and say, no, there's someone reserved it, or it's a monthly.
All right, because I have seen the ones with the number, and that would make sense, but okay, very good. All right, we'll see what happens. And you're rolling this out, you said, so when it's approved or if it's approved. So what happens currently? We have places with no parking meters. We have, what is the plan, I guess, in terms of how the rollout is? Are you planning to, how long does it take? Several months before we see the removal of the parking meters and...
Right. So the good news is we're already working with hotspots. We already have hotspot in the city. So if this is approved tonight, that's a huge advantage. But we're going to work with the company and say, okay, what do you recommend? What's first? Is it the gates? Is it the parking lot? Do we do the hospital first? We got to wait for those machines, those pay stations to arrive and stuff. So there's considerations before we start pulling meters out of the ground.
Do you know if the pay stations are made in Canada?
It's a company from Nova Scotia that they've included in their tender. Now, are they assembled in Canada or made? I don't know, but it is at Nova Scotia. There was 2 that they suggested, and they're recommending the one from Nova Scotia.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Merci.
Merci. No further question. We can go to the vote. Electronic.
Can we show the results?
Motion carried unanimously. Merci, Madame Lagreffiere.
Oui. The next is a quotation for QP 25049 School Crossing Guard Services. And the motion before council this evening is that the City of Moncton quotation QP 19098 for the provision of school crossing guard services be awarded to the lowest bidder meeting all terms and conditions, specifications, and requirements, being Synergy Protection Group, Inc., in accordance with the fixed hourly rate submitted in the vendor's bid submission, representing a total estimate 5-year contract valued at $2,316,479.50, including HST at 15%.
So Councillor Butler, you wish to move? Could you have a question as well? And Councillor Richard, you will second. So we will go to the questions.
Yeah, just a quick one. I don't know who I'm supposed to put this to, who's looking after it, but I was just wondering about, so we're changing companies. Who am I speaking to? Who's looking after this? Yeah, I jump at one. There we are. So we're changing companies by the look of it. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so I'm just wondering what's happening to the.
Can you push the button, please, so that the recorder can hear?
You have to press your button.
Justin, could we,
Okay. Sorry. Yes, we are changing
I heard you
companies
three
from the current provider, yes.
Yeah, it's the question I was asking is that since we're changing companies, have we spoke to them about like the crosswalk guards we have now?
We've met, Tanya and I have met with the Synergy Protection, the low bidder a few, we met with them once last week, and their plan is to try to recruit from the existing crossing guards. So they're trying they had a plan for an active recruitment, which would include the existing crossing guards. But it is difficult because the current employer can't, we can't get their information and give it to the new people, but they will have targeted job postings for the crossing guard service that will be attempting to recruit the existing guards.
I guess the last time it happened, I got a couple phone calls regards to their worry about employment for the following year. That's all. So anyway, I think that, certainly I'll support it since it's the lowest bid, but I would hope that they take the time to reach out to the people that are working there now. It's a lot of elderly people that are just doing it as a part-time job. It's quite important to them. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Steves.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, my question's regarding this statement, approximately 25 to 40. So is it anywhere within that? Do we not really know if it's 25 or 40? That's my first question.
It's currently, I believe, 34 crossing guards. So the list we had provided to them was the 34 existing locations, and we just wanted to leave it open that may change. And we have the capability within the terms of the RFQ to change locations.
Okay, so that leads me to my second question then. So are we limiting ourselves at 40 in the next 5 years to only add, did you say 34 or 36? 34? So 6 more crossing spots, 40 is as high as they're going to go in this contract?
Based on 34. Okay. So the quote, I think it's important to consider the financial piece. So the financial summary is based on the 1,700 operating hours, which is based on the 34 existing spaces. So you also have to consider that there's a budgetary element to increasing up to 40 or beyond. It's not limited. The 25 to 40 was to give an indication to bidders of what the scope may be, there's always a potential. I mean, It's more likely a potential that it would stay at the same level or slightly increase. It was more to give an indication of to bidders of what the number of positions, the number of employees they would have to hire.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No other questions, so we will go to the vote. It's electronic.
Can we see the results, please?
Motion carried unanimously. Merci. Thank you, merci.
Next is reading of bylaws, just for the people out in our television land and viewing audience. These bylaws were posted according to the Local Governance Act on our website, so I'm able to give reading by title only. The first one is I will require permission to give second reading, and it is for Ryan Street.
So I need a mover and a seconder for second reading. So, am I right? Oui? C'est
Yes.
ça, conseiller Adjut et conseiller Richard. It's getting late. I'm starting to see double.
This will be a show of hands, Your Worship. This one will be a show of hands.
We'll vote with a show of hand. Motion carried.
Okay.
Merci.
Bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to the adoption of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z222.48. It's related to 528 Ryan Street. It's a second reading. I will require third reading.
Could I have a motion, a mover and a seconder for third reading, please? Conseiller Adjut and conseiller Richard.
And this is a vote electronically.
We are going to vote electronically.
There you go. If we can see the results. One nay vote, Councillor Steves.
Merci, thank you.
Next would be a reading of the bylaw for 145 East Street.
So do you need a
Second reading.
Second reading. So could I have a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Crossman and Conseiller Léger.
Show of hands.
I need a seconder. Oh, Conseiller Adjut, merci.
Adjut.
Merci.
Okay.
So we
Show
go
of
to
hands.
the vote.
Show of hands.
Oh, show of hand.
Any nay votes?
So
No nay votes? Okay.
Can we go again with the show of hands? So
Second reading, show of hands. Okay. And is there any nay votes? Nope, nope. Oh, sorry. Butler, Kingston, this is East Street and Legier. Thank you very much.
Okay, so
I'm going to give, I can give second reading, a bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to the adoption of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z222.46, 145 East Street. C'est sa second reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant l'adoption de l'arrêté du zonage de la ville de Moncton, soit l'arrêté Z222.46, 145 rue East. C'est la deuxième lecture. We'll need through third reading.
Vous avez donc on a besoin. Need another mover and a seconder, please. Monsieur Richard. Conseiller Crossman.
Crossman.
So do we show?
Nope, this is an electronic vote. Okay, if we can see the results. 3 nay votes, Butler, Legier, and Kingston.
Motion is carried.
And I'm going to give third reading, a bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to the adoption of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z 222.46, 145 East Street. It's a third reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant l'adoption de l'arrêté de zonage de la Ville de Moncton, soit l'arrêté Z 222.46, 145 rue East. C'est la troisième lecture.
J'ai besoin de...
No? Okay. Next is notice of motions and resolutions, and there are three, I believe, before council today. Yes, there are. They are located in your packages, so I won't read them out. The first one is appointment of compliance officer, water distribution and wastewater collection, and that would be for Anik McDonald.
Seconded, sorry, moved by Councillor Steve, seconded by Councillor Richard. So on the question, electronic? Non, je comprends pas.
Can we bring up the electronic vote, please? We show results.
Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
Next is a resolution to appoint a compliance officer for plumbing inspection, and this would be going to Christopher Williams.
So I need a, excusez, Conseiller Léger, Conseiller Butler, moved and seconded, donc we vote how?
Can we bring up the vote, please? Can we see the results?
Unanimous. Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
The final is resolution appointment of bylaw officers for Amanda Ibard, Alyssa Beers, and Dominic Ibard.
I need another move. Conseiller Butler, Conseiller Kingston, merci. Donc, on the vote.
Can we bring up the electronic vote?
Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
Next would be appointments to committees, and I believe you have several this evening.
I do.
Deputy Mayor.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Donc, CAO Evaluation Committee, Paulette Thériault, City of Moncton Employees Pension Board, Paulette Thériault, Kodiak Regional Policing Authority, Scott Steves, reappointment, Cultural Board, Conseiller Sean Crossman, Heritage Conservation Board, Conseiller Charles Léger, Brian Branch, reappointed, Françoise Grandmaison, reappointment. Internal Audit Committee, Councillor Sean Crossman, Moncton Industrial Development, Paulette Thériault, Social Inclusion Committee, Maruf Hassan, Youth Advisory Committee, Kahilia Robinson, Harrison Trimble, Shiamaka, je peux pas prononcer, Ushubu, Moncton Christian Academy, Hassan Mohammed Moncton High School, Matthew Park, Odyssey, Fatima Baramali Pana, Odyssey. I apologize for not pronouncing correctly. Merci. And I need a mover and a seconder for to adopt this, right? Donc, Conseiller Léger. Non, Conseiller Richard, Conseiller Edgett, merci. So do we go to an electronic vote?
Yes.
Right.
There we go, it's coming. Can we see the results?
Motion carried unanimously. Merci, conseiller Richard. On va clôturer la réunion. Merci. Oh my God, mon chat est morte.